Shout out to the big boy. Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I am Zach Jackson, and joining me is James Wood.
Howdy, gamers.
Adam Ryan.
Hello.
And Ash Whaling.
Well, what's going on, gamers?
Jesus Christ.
What is going on, lads? Also, I didn't want to say anything before. Why the fuck are you drinking Miller Chill? That is the shittest beer on earth. Miller is my favorite beer, and I fucking hate Miller Chill. God, that is dick water.
Are you
mate.
done? Are you done?
It's a dead beer.
Okay, so you're not done. Do you know what this is called?
Miller Chill.
This is called leftovers. This is called what family left at my house, and I can either put it down the sink or I can drink it. And for the low price of nothing, I'll just drink it.
I gave mine to
What's the difference
KS.
between a Miller and a Miller Chill?
Miller Chill's
This one's got real lime in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not bad.
okay.
I don't know how it's harmed Zach, but I mean, I think it's okay.
It's just,
The blood orange one's a lot better.
I'm offended. I'm offended.
Don't you drinkers put lime in beer anyway? Isn't that cutting out the middleman?
I'm not really
It's
a
different
huge
when
fan
it's
of
fresh
that.
lime.
Yeah.
Mm,
Corona. That's more of a Corona
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Miller
Can't
Chills,
win.
whenever someone would give them to me mistakenly, when they thought they were doing me a good deed by bringing
Mistakenly.
twice. People have given me Miller Chills twice when I've said, oh yeah, my favorite beer is Miller, and twice I've given them to KS.
Rat bastards. Imagine
But
bringing
it's-
that shit into
It's
your house.
basically pouring it down the drain.
I am
So-
offended, good sir.
Old mate, $2 bottle of wine. He'll drink anything.
That's it. That's it. How are we going? Anyway, how are we feeling this week?
It's a week.
I'm red hot, baby. I'm back home. I'm ready to go. I had a fight with James. We've
Got the bat
smoothed
tap.
things over, I think. Yep. I think we're good now. Or at least we will be while we're recording and we can pick it up afterwards. So, yeah, I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm good.
Nice work. Good stuff. James, how are you?
Yeah, good. Got some sun today. It was great.
Oh.
A little
Shirt,
bit of vitamin
countless
D.
sun. Bit of
Can't
vitamin
say
D.
that around
Do you,
Tasmanians. You scare us. You confuse us.
Sunscreen?
We.
No. I went for like about an hour-long walk, and that's just long enough
Oh.
to be like, I don't think I need sunscreen.
But
Right.
when you do put on sunscreen, what's your SPF of choice?
I don't think I've ever thought about it.
50
Oh
plus?
shit!
30?
What's your age range for men? Is it 30 or 50 plus?
Ooh,
Depends on the day.
There
okay.
we go.
My
all
favorite
right.
thing about Zach when he's hosting is that, like, if he diverts the topic into something absurd and ridiculous, he'll be like, "What are you boys talking about? This is normal podcasting." When someone else does it, he just clams up and goes, "Okay, then." It's excellent.
That is not true.
It almost just happened again.
Yeah.
I did not know how to respond to what's your age in men. I didn't know. But,
Yeah. Well, variety is the spice of life, brother.
Yeah, we're talking about SPF, not spoof. He just got it. There we go.
all right. James, you want to take the floor this one, mate?
No, look, I think we're good. I think we've hit everything we need to hit. You know, big show, lots to talk about.
There is a big show, lots to talk about indeed. All right, I want to start off because I have been playing. I jumped back on the wagon. Speaking of spoof, I played Death Stranding.
Hmm.
I can see it.
Now, there's a lot going on in that game. Like,
Yes.
Quite a
Yeah.
bit.
and it's probably not the best game to have like started, pause at a certain point, and come back and go, oh yeah, and I just jump back on. Now, my
It's
biggest
bold.
thing, look, I don't know if it's simply me getting old, but this game is one of the very first games where I've gone, are my eyes a little bit fucking shit now? Because the text is so small.
It's very small text.
Oh, it is small.
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
Because
I've got
No.
There's
wait.
icons that
So,
are like
yes,
tiny, and I can't
Yeah,
fucking
Is that
read
a
it.
smiley face, BB?
The text is small, but I distinctly remember having a conversation with you where you chose subtitles for a TV or a show for like a show or a movie.
That was
And you
Amazon
complained
Prime.
about them.
Amazon
You
Prime
complained about
had-
them being too small.
Amazon Prime has notoriously small subtitles. Yes, I will stand by
You've
that.
been old for ages then,
Amazon
mate. It's not a
Prime
new
has
thing.
the most robust selection. You can choose size, background, font color, flavor,
Look,
scent.
this particular show was too small.
Oh,
Too small.
wow.
I don't think it's show agnostic, but sure.
I don't
Okay.
think it, yeah.
Anyway, well, the settings at the time. Anyway, but I don't really quite know what the fuck I'm doing. But
Where are you up to?
I have just delivered the printer. I'm very early on, I think. It's like chapter 2, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, very
Honestly,
early.
just start again. If you
Can't be
really want to do
fucked.
this, you got to start again.
Why?
Alternatively, just devil's advocate, start watching a Let's Play and reach the point where you're up to, and then start playing again.
So I'll-
that's a good
I'll
shout.
let
That's a very
I'll let
good
James
shout.
recommend me one.
Uh,
that was
yeah.
that was good. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it
like,
was
I'm,
actually.
I'm keen to jump back in and play a bit more. It's what I want to palette cleanse with. Like, I kind of do all this review shit. And I just want something that's just AAA long walking.
Yeah.
Walking.
Sometimes I don't really know what I'm doing because I can't read it. But
Part of the experience,
No,
mate. You've got to
yes.
aimlessly wander.
Death Stranding is like the first game I ever heard the term "it's good podcast material,"
okay.
and like lots of people
Okay.
said, it is so rewarding just popping on an interesting podcast and then just going for a long ass walk, with packages on your back. That was the first time I ever encountered it. Have you guys heard that?
I have complicated feelings on that stance. But Adam, I don't know. I'll let you answer.
I would be very down to do that now, having finished it
Yeah.
twice, I think. But for a first run through, I very much was like a headset on, fully focus on the game. But yeah, like if I was to play it just for the gameplay now, 100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
I
So
think
I
it's
need
worth
to do-
clarifying
sorry.
just quickly. It's good podcast, good podcast material. Open parentheses, non-derogatory close parentheses.
Yeah. Would
Oh,
can
no,
I
no, no.
can I
Yeah.
can I ask a follow-up question? Would this podcast be applicable to? Nah, yeah, okay, good.
This
Yep.
podcast.
No,
good
just
for
checking.
nothing,
Just
mate.
checking.
Sam,
Derogatory.
watch out
close
for those
parentheses.
BTs. Spoof. Like, that's... Nobody wants that.
Villains chill as shit. Anyway.
Yeah.
But one last question. There's got to be caves in that world, right? Because all it does is fucking rain, like when I'm outside, and it says, "Oh, the rain damages your packages," but there's nowhere to hide, mate. Or
You're in
surely,
a cave in the fucking opening, mate.
surely,
There's a
old mate.
cutscene
Right.
at the start where you're
Oh, that's-
sheltering
mate,
yourself.
that was so 2 years ago.
Can't read subtitles. Can't see caves. Fuck. Maybe you are getting old.
Own an
Is
umbrella.
the TV on?
That's good. That's good.
Oh dear.
Anyway, Nate. Yeah, cool.
Let's just sit quietly and awkwardly for a couple of minutes as Zach recovers from his roasting.
As is tradition.
Anyone else who's played anything that they want to talk about before we hit into the content? Because there's fucking heaps of content.
I played 30 minutes of Quidditch Champions and then deleted it because it's dog shit. But that's all I care to say.
That's the end of the review.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
Nerd.
Put that on the box.
Really?
Smack it on there.
That's the quote. Really? Shit, that only came out like a week ago, didn't it?
Yeah, mechanically it's good. It's just boring as shit to play. Like I got through I played more than that. I got through like the 35-40 minute tutorial and then was like, never want to touch this again. Thank you very much.
Is that because you're not a sports person?
No. I enjoy sport, like arcadey sport games, but that one there was too much going on and the Harry Potter-ness of it wore thin immediately and it just, not for me. I'm sure it'll be for some people, but not me.
Not that guy.
Not this guy. James, you been playing anything that...
Yes. Shit. Now I can't remember what it was. I had something in mind and then Adam and I talked at the same time and now I'm fucked.
Sorry.
Remnant 2 continues to be great though.
Yeah.
On our second campaign run, fought a boss on the second to highest difficulty that took 2 hours to take down, and it was incredible.
Jesus.
So,
My days.
Without going into massive detail, which boss was it?
it was the tree blob and the golem.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
which
there was-
mechanically
blob.
very sound fight, but that thing had a lot of health. So yeah.
Nice. Ash, you got anything? I know you've been a very, very busy boy.
I'm neck deep in review material, so anything I talk about now is not worth talking about because I'm going to talk about it later.
Hot. I remember. It's fine.
Right.
No, we need to
That was
know.
a bit dramatic. I apologize. No, I've got a review of Caravan Sandwich up on Press Start later this week. So I've been playing that this week. Yeah, certainly, like if you filtered an Ubisoft open world through the lens of a semi-cozy capitalist critiquing indie, you would have that, except it's just fine instead of amazing the way it should be. That's kind of the summary.
Oh, but it's so pretty.
It's so pretty.
You said the C word.
Yeah, he did.
I know.
It really took me,
I
it
know.
took me aback.
Oh, I'm painfully aware of how cozy this thing is. No, it's fine.
Love that word has attached to you like viciously.
Mate, it's a whole thing. Anyway,
Everyone's got
that's
their
me.
words.
They do.
What words-
Mine are on Press Start. So
I would make another
Oh,
joke,
boy.
but we'll leave that one in the past.
we will.
Jesus.
We will. All right, let's
Sleeping
get
dogs
stuck
lie.
into the content. Adam, you've been
Hello.
Speaking of cozy, you've been playing something similar.
No, but I have been playing Astro Bot. This is the reason that I only played 40 minutes of Quidditch Champions, because I've been absolutely addicted to Astro Bot. I'm trying to get all the bots, platinum the game. It's fucking fantastic. So from the off, it's a positive review. So this is the premium priced sequel to Astro's Playroom, which was kind of like the massively extended tech demo that came with the PS5 that was like way better than it had any fucking right to be from Team Asobi. This is like a fully fleshed out game from the features and the mechanics that they introduced in Playroom, and they've just chucked every creative thought that they've had into a sequel. So yeah, essentially you're a bunch of you Astro Bot with a bunch of your pals, 300 of your pals. You get attacked by the most generic villain, a little alien dude I've ever seen. Genuinely, he's terrible. I fucking hate him. And it scatters all the bots around the galaxy, and it's your job to go and do a bunch of 3D platforming levels to rescue them. That's it. That's the entire premise of the game. You collect
Can you
the bots
not
as-
save them
hello?
like in Abe's Odyssey or something?
Is it Abe's Odyssey where like you can fuck up and some of them die?
No, they just kind of hang out in the levels, and you can not save them and just get to the end of the level and you can still complete it. But to get to the boss at the end of each of the 5 like galaxies, you need to have collected a certain amount of bots. It's very like, there's never going to be a point where you go, holy shit, I need to collect 80 more bots before I can get to the boss. Natively, you just kind of come across them in the levels.
Kirby in the Forgotten World was like that. You sort of get to the boss store and you've already doubled it. And you haven't even really been trying.
Yeah, that's it. It's not looking to gatekeep and extend the playtime massively or anything like that, which is good. But the levels, they're very, very creative, not just in the design of how you're moving around them, but there is a different gimmick for, I would say, 50% of the levels. So it got to a point where, and I think there's like 80 levels in total. So it's fucking ridiculous. So in the first mission I played, you can like inflate yourself into a balloon and float around. And then I played the next level and you had boxing gloves that extended, little froggy boxing gloves. The one after that, you had a dog jetpack. And at that point, excellent. I only just caught that. At that point, I started taking notes on my phone because I was like, they are just bombarding you with different mechanics. And I think I ended up with like 17 or 18 different unique just like abilities that you get. And that's not counting the different gimmicks that are actually baked into the levels as well. It's staggering the variety that you have in this game. It is wild.
But it doesn't feel overwhelming? You don't feel like you got a toolbox with too many tools?
Never. So they they give you the ability, they teach you how to use it. Like there's a pop-up that comes up. It's always attached to R2. So whatever you're using, it's attached to the one button, super easy. They show you how to use it, and then they're just like, all right, go into the level and explore. And by the time you get to the end of the level, you have a really good grasp on it, and you may never see it again. There's one ability that they literally use once. I would say they use it once because I reckon it was an absolute bitch to develop for, because it absolutely shattered my mind that the level was so intricately designed around this one gimmick. So yeah, I reckon they were like, good, we've done that once, glad we can do it, never doing it again. But yeah, so the game is unbelievably polished as well. Like visually, it's fantastic. Going off the PlayStation 5 hardware, but it's not as tacked on as Playroom was, because Playroom was a tech demo, right? So load times ridiculously fast. Everything is insanely shiny. Everything is a reflective surface. I think I put in my review that like Team Asobi are kind of taking the piss. They're doing things because they can. Like they always bombard you with tiny little items. So like acorns or gems or apples or something, just because they're like, look at all of the individual items that each have their own.
They're
like,
physics
and they're
items, aren't they? I think I saw a boss get
they're all
defeated,
tangible.
like 1,000 apples just went brah, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh
just
shit, that's cool.
all over the place, and you can interact with every single one of them. They each have their own asset. It's fucking wild. But yeah, the other main part, I suppose, is that it's kind of a PlayStation museum, an interactive PlayStation museum. 150 of the 300 bots are themed to different PlayStation characters or third-party characters. Anywhere from like Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us to Jack and Daxter, Crash, Spyro, like characters that were once synonymous with PlayStation, no more, you know.
Now relegated to appearing in Astro
Yeah.
Bot.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there an Order 1886 bot?
I haven't found him, but I'm looking.
Mm.
I
I'm
reckon
certainly looking.
There was a Sackboy though.
There is a Sackboy and old mate from. That's a weird. Where did you pull that from?
Yeah,
Where-
do you like Sackboy? Is that what this is, or?
No, but I've got it. I've got the Sackboy doll.
Fucking hell.
And isn't it in the game?
Yeah.
It's in the order. Like where else would I pull that from?
Sackboy appeared in the
Right.
Order 1886. I remember now. Yeah.
Thought they were two
Right.
completely separate thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
No, Sackboy is in the game. Yeah. But there are some like those are the recognizable ones. There's some
deep cuts in there, isn't there?
Any
unbelievably
Resident
deep
Evil?
cuts.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
There's a whole suite of Resident Evil characters, and they're all great. You end up being able to. No, I don't think I've seen Dino Crisis. Yeah, I know, rough. You end up being able to unlock an individual item for each individual bot as well. So, like Pyramid Head has the great knife. Nathan Drake has a couch with a PS1, and he's smashing away at Crash Bandicoot. And like you can go up and interact with them. I don't know. It's insanely cute. And if you're into PlayStation games, past and present, you'll have a great old time with it.
So what happens when 8-year-old Billy goes, "Oh, mummy, look, I've unlocked this Pyramid Head guy. Who's he? Can I Google him?"
It's I mean
that's the personification of.
Ooh.
We love it. I don't know. You'll have to maybe a helicopter parent with that one. That'll be interesting. But yeah, also similar to Playroom, the DualSense features are fucking wild as well. You walk on sand, you can feel sand. You skate on ice, you feel the ice. The triggers have the different amounts of tension. You use a bow at one point, feels like a bow, da 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 da. There is one mission type that I really don't want to go into a great deal. There's one per galaxy. They're themed around a very specific character. The one I ruined it in my review, so I'll ruin it here, is it's based off God of War. So you go to like this ice planet and Kratos throws you his axe and you turn into Kratos, and it then takes on the mechanics of the God of War game. So you can like recall the axe, you're hunting down Odin's little ravens and shit. That's one of the 5. All 5 of them feel very much uniquely that game that it's trying to emulate. And it blew me away the first time they did it, and I was expecting it for the rest, but I was still pleasantly surprised.
I have a question.
And he dies in the end. Ha! Gotcha, Ash, you bitch.
Astro Bot was dead the
James.
whole time.
Go.
Based on what you know is my favorite PlayStation exclusive, I guess, is there a level themed around that, or am I going to be disappointed?
It is wild that you think that would ever be the case.
Mate,
you can dress up as him, though.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
And
it's Bloodborne, right? Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Bloodborne.
You take on an Eldritch Horror. It's wild. No,
perfect.
Unfortunately,
little trick weapon. That'd be so cute.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I think Sony have forgotten that game exists.
I won't let them.
Just like the Order.
Will not let them.
Game is it may be my favorite 3D platformer ever. I know that's a big call, but it is genuinely that good. I think the villain is fucking terrible, and for the mascot platformer, that's kind of a big deal. Mario has Bowser, Crash has Nitro Cortex. Like, it does matter to have an iconic villain to kind of bounce off. So I think that sucks. And there's no time trials on launch. I know that they will be adding it later on down the track, but I'm kind of getting to the end of the game, and all I want to be doing is setting times for my friends to beat, and it's just not in the game yet. It is coming, though. I gave it a 9. I absolutely loved it. I'll continue to love it.
How much is it?
I'll continue to play it. $110.
Fucking hell.
Full price
I
game.
did mention that in my review as well. It feels like it needs to be mentioned,
because you get $109 worth of fun out of it.
I will eventually, but if you're someone who just wants to play a game, finish it, and that's as far as you'll go with it, it'll be a tall ask. I got through all of the levels in about 5 hours, roughly. So that's, excuse me, it is rough from that perspective. So I felt like I needed to mention it in the review. It is there.
It is 89 at JB. I just had a quick look. Just FYI.
Yeah. And you'll get it on sale and this, that, and the other. But yeah.
The way you're describing it, though, it sounds like a density of quality that we rarely get in the AAA space.
Yeah.
So is this one of those examples where it's like a game is actually worth what it's charging? Like, I mean, like, look at Outlaws recently and sort of how much that charged for how, let's say, undercooked some of those elements could have been. And then you compare that to Astro Bot, which sounds like it achieves almost everything it sets out to do. So
100%. I would personally be more than happy to spend that on the game, because I will appreciate that.
A copy, so if you want to,
yeah, mate, I'll get it in the post for you. But yes, 100%. I would be more than happy to spend it, but I just know that it is a tall ask for some, depending on where you're looking to get out of it.
Yeah, of course.
I have a couple questions.
Fire away.
What is my question?
It's a great question.
How do we feel about PlayStation's roster and this addition to it, given that it's essentially stopped making these types of games, with like the closure of Studio Japan Studio?
Yep, Japan Studio.
And those kinds of games. And it's kind of, it's gone down this where cinematic narrative storytelling adventure games, basically, Does this make this game, do you think this stands out more? Like, not saying that it's, lesser quality, but because of the quality, do you think if they were still making 3, 4, 5 different platformers kind of thing, Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that there are plenty of things that are in its favor. Nothing is doing the nostalgia trip quite as well as Astro Bot does, which I think helps immeasurably.
What do you mean by
But
that?
like, there's no other property that is like.
Well, I mean, the way that Adam described it, it's like a living museum, as opposed to
It is,
Ellie
yeah.
has a T-shirt in The Last of Us with Jack and Daxter on it. Like,
Yeah,
this
there's
is
not.
big neon signs and foam fingers going, "Fucking check out this shit that you remember, yeah." Compared to,
Yeah, and it's
Well,
celebrating
that's
it with you rather than just kind of
Well, that's my second question.
slapping you
I
in the
think
face with it.
I don't quite know what the question is, but this is for a game that's got like 94 on Metacritic or something like that.
Mhm.
Some of the discourse around it is quite divisive in terms of this whole celebration type thing. There was one article, was it The Gamer? Was it Polygon? It was someone wrote an article.
Inverse, maybe? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It wasn't Inverse. I think it was one of the other
What
ones.
was the subject? Because I don't think I've read that one.
I'll try and find it.
Astro Bot is not a celebration, it's a graveyard.
Ooh, morbid.
Something.
I mean, it's a valid point to make. I think
Astro
that's
Bot-
probably where I stand, is that they say it's a celebration, but realistically, this is the only time we see these characters.
Correct. So this is, it's not a fuck you to those characters, but it's like
bittersweet.
PlayStation is, known. They're not afraid to fucking sit on an IP and just basically let it wither away and die, kind of thing.
It is on The Gamer. Astro Bot isn't a celebration, it's a graveyard by James Troughton, who's an excellent follow on Twitter, if you are curious. Good writer.
Yeah. I've only kind of scrolled that article, but James, do you know, just give us a quick little...
I think the idea being that, and this is, I think, something that Adam and I are kind of vaguely working on at the moment as well, that this is both a wonderful celebration of the history of PlayStation while also being a really big neon sign that says it hasn't been this way for a very long time. And I do think that cashing in that nostalgia for the sake of a new product could be perceived as a cheap, shitty thing to do. And part of my brain thinks it is. The more cynical side of my brain definitely thinks that. And I think if the game wasn't a great platform in its own right, you could very much make that argument. I think Team Asobi seem like they are quite genuinely in love with everything they're doing here, and they have made a product that is full of joy, and that's excellent. But at the same time, in an ideal world, this sells a fucking bajillion copies, obviously reviews quite well, and then it does inspire PlayStation, along with Concord happening at the same time, to go, fuck, should we make video games again?
Yep.
It's a big week of learning for Sony,
Huge.
isn't it?
Because we'll probably use probably the biggest public spat about this, and you look at someone like the character from Days Gone, Deacon St. John.
Oh my god!
Right? It's like PlayStation has given what we know about that whole scenario from what they've said. They've knowingly shut down a sequel despite it selling pretty good numbers, right? And then a lot of people who wanted that next entry in that game to see him not reduced to this is
That was his words.
I think that's a very strange take to have. But if this is all we're going to get from, I don't know, it just feels like a bit like you're not getting a Days Gone 2, but at least he's in Astro Bot. The
way I see it is, and I'm not trying to diminish the guy's thoughts or whatever, but when I say that it feels like a PlayStation museum, I chose those words specifically because it does feel like it's a preservation of things that have come before in this kind of, I don't know, all of the characters are shown off in their best light, right? They're not showing Jack from Jack 3 or whatever because he looks like a fuckwit.
Wow.
It's all of the characters in all of their characters in the best light, and they kind of just hang out in this little area, and they're more or less like interactive little statues for, hey, here are all these things that you love.
Put it in simple terms, usually shit in museums is dead.
Yeah.
Look, like I don't have any issues with what they've done, and I'm sure their team of Sobi are genuine in how they've done it. But yeah, I just find it a little bit interesting that we're getting all this
It is.
noise like about this character's brought back and this character's brought back when people have been begging for game XYZ for how long it may be.
Klonoa 2. Let's go.
Are you
Anyway.
saying Klonoa is in Astro Bot?
I'm not saying that. To leave off on a positive note for Astro Bot, because I feel like it probably deserves it. I was watching a friend play it the other night, and if on paper you had described to me the idea of a bunch of little Astro Bots dressed up as iconic PlayStation characters hanging out in a giant park together, I would say that sounds lame. I don't want to be involved in this. And then I watched my friend walk up to the little Claire Redfield, bonk her on the head, and she dropped a bunch of keys that were themed after the keys from RE2, and I went, shit. I felt joy. So minor miracle.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
it's wild, and they've put that love and attention into every one of the 150 bots, which is just fucking wild.
Damn, that's a lot.
It's insane. Game's absolutely wonderful, and I'd recommend, if you like platformers, definitely give it a crack.
I'm really glad that it's doing super well. I just hope that it sells well.
Yep.
Do you reckon this will ever come to PC?
I don't see it. Yeah, sure. Yes. I definitely see it coming to PC.
Yeah.
I don't see why you wouldn't.
I don't have a strong
PC
argument
can
to
do
say
the
why it
haptics,
wouldn't.
can't it? Like it can send those signals for the controller.
With the PlayStation app, I think there's they've got the actual PlayStation app nowadays to interface with that shit. So it wouldn't surprise me if an update comes out and just does it. Like Sony is pushing the PC platform in a big way. So I don't see it not happen.
You can switch all that shit off too. Like it is optional. It's definitely enhances, but you can turn it all off if you want to.
There you go.
Nice. All right, let's move on. Astro's taken up a lot of time. And speaking of taking up a lot of time, Ash Whaling, the game that you've been gagging, frothing over for a long time. You've got to play it. You've reviewed it. Fuck, was it as good as you... Did it fuck hard?
It did. It fucked ridiculously hard. I'm talking girder time right here, baby. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 was probably a canon event in my life. I thought that if this game sucks ass, I might just find a bridge and jump off it. I was that invested. And thankfully, it did, as you say, Zach, fuck hard. It's sort of simple dot points. It's brutal. It's cinematic. It doesn't go too long. It goes for exactly as long as it needs to be. It nails every aspect of what you'd expect from playing a 9-foot-tall superhuman that lives in an incredibly xenophobic society by just fucking bulldoze through anything that gets in your way and save the day. It's fantastic. It's all very dystopian, but very fun. So the bottom line is, it's a sequel to the 2011 Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine, which was brought out by Relic Entertainment and published by THQ. Rest in peace. But you'd think that they've got it's 13 years to put together a sequel, or at least to concept something and make it happen. They had every opportunity to fuck it up. They could have completely changed the formula. They could have just completely ignored the fact that a game existed in the first place. They could have just done a whole bunch of weird and wacky shit, but they didn't. They really got down to brass tacks and went, right, this is a setting that has existed for, I think Warhammer 40k is about to hit its 40th anniversary, or it might be its 35th, I'm not sure. Either way, long fucking time.
Jesus.
Incredibly established, incredibly basement dwelly kind of... sorry guys, I'm on your team here, but let's be real, nerds who love it. How do you make something that leans into that intellectual property, does it right, and doesn't start to, divide particular types of fans from each other, while also managing to bring in new people? And Jesus Christ, Saber, you've done it. You've somehow managed to do it. Like, it is every bit as grimdark and ridiculous and brutal as you'd expect, but then they also make it gorgeous and incredibly fun to play. But then they also fold in the fact that, you can play through the entire campaign with up to 2 mates, and then they add cooperative missions as well that have like stacking difficulties that change the gameplay so that where you can keep playing it. It's mental. But they've absolutely blasted expectations away. It's doing very well. I think it's funny. It released it like midday on a Monday in the United States, and it still jumped to like 200,000 plays in the first hour. It went live, so people were skipping school. People were taking days off work. People were like, I need to go and save the 40th millennium. Mum, you don't understand. So, yeah, I'm absolutely blown away. So, in a nutshell, old mate Titus has returned from the first game. They've been very, very careful to actually honor and appreciate what the first game set up. I'm hoping to ask somebody from the studio eventually, but I'm like, I think you guys took into account what they planned for a sequel and then sort of did your own spin on it, because that's what it feels like. It does this great sort of comic book storytelling of cackling bad guy, evil dickhead in a universe of nothing but endless military bureaucracy and just trying to sort of get to an endpoint when every system in this weird archaic universe works against you, and you are apparently the only person, person finger quote, superhuman, with a jot of common sense. And it cracks me up. It's almost satirical, but not quite. But yeah, I fucking hate the word epic because it's so overused and just wasted on everything. Someone's like, oh man, that hot dog was epic, but like Space Marine 2 is legitimately epic. The game is just non-stop, keeps raising the stakes, keeps blowing you away, keeps blowing itself up every second. It tries to do something cool, and that's fucking awesome. So I love it. I will now open the floor to questions. Otherwise, I will just keep gushing because I would love to do that just for 20 minutes, and I'm not going to do it. So go. Oh yes, handsome man at the front with the PlayStation T-shirt. Oh, sorry, hoodie. Love it.
It's a hoodie, actually. Yeah,
Love
let's
it.
say that. Let's get our facts straight tonight. James from WellPlayed. Hello. Wondering. So my understanding is that Titus's first story was sort of about a man coming to terms with his role in space fascism, kind of vaguely.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Does the sequel build on that in any interesting ways, or is it just more concerned with having a good time?
It actually does, which is quite funny. So what you're referring to there, James, is the fact that like Space Marines follow a thing called the Codex Astartes, which is literally the rulebook of war. And he sort of says, you can loosely interpret some of it if it's going to get to a better outcome. You can bend the rules, you just don't break them. And the whole story of the first game is just all of his friends going, you can't do that. And he's like, watch me. He's like a maverick. In the second game, a lot of the events from the first game have come back to haunt Titus. And he's still following rules, he's following orders, but doing it within his own sort of, area. But then his two colleagues are sort of the ones going like, maybe we should break the rules this one time. And he's like, but I so want to, but it's not the place for it, which kind of cracks me up. So the way that I described it to a friend is that Titus has grown up and now he sort of has these teenage sons that it's not literal. This is just a metaphor. He's got these teenage sons that he sees so much of himself in there. And he's like, I don't want them to walk the same road I did, but how do I lay down limits when I don't recognize them? So it's really goofy and dumb.
I'm on board.
Yeah, it's not going to win any stellar awards for writing, but they do have a lot of those great themes where it's just like, the Codex Astartes does not approve of this action. It's like, puts on his sunglasses and goes, fucking watch me, and like jumps out of a helicopter kind of shit. So, yeah, it's very good. Oh, you there, the handsome young man wearing the WellPlayed t-shirt, available online at selected retailers.
Hello, Adam from WellPlayed here. I've
Love
played maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of the game, and it is full on bending me over, slapping my ass, having a wonderful time. The only concern
What does
I
that?
have...
What does that mean?
It depends who you ask whether getting bent over and having your ass slapped is a good thing or a bad thing. You got to like do a poll.
Like,
it's up to your interpretation, isn't it?
Like, I take. It's.
I'm
good.
with you, Zach. I thought he was about to say, I'm sucking ass at this game. It's like it's crushing me, but he's like, no, I'm having a good time.
Well, I thought it was like it's dominating him a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
Again, different.
However you choose to interpret it, baby. So the only concern I have is
third-person
like
shooter, let's just.
Every once in a while, you'll come across like a little cache of weapons. That's like,
Yep.
Do you want the heavy bolter? Do you want the big knife instead of the chainsword? I've used a few of them. They're fucking excellent. The heavy bolter is
Ugh.
my particular favorite so far. Hello, James.
I'm so sorry. Chain sword? Like a chainsaw sword?
Yes. And it actually
Fuck me.
feels as good as that sounds. Yeah, it's
Perfect.
wild.
Sorry, continue.
Yep.
How large is the arsenal of weapons? And like, because essentially it doesn't have a cover mechanic because you kind of are the cover. You have
You
to get
are.
into it, and there's
Yeah.
like grenades and
Sure.
guns and shit. But like, does it wear thin by the end because it is just kind of mowing down enemies with the same weapons, or is there enough variety in there to keep you happy?
I am picking up what you're putting down because I felt the same way. Like I played the preview before I played the game, and the preview was like a slice of the game, sort of halfway through, and I went, if this is halfway through the game and this is sort of where it's ended up at the halfway point, where do they go and where do they come from?
Yeah.
Like, is it just going to be mashy? And yeah, I mean, to an extent, that's true, but they've been very clever with how they do it, and the weapon variety is very good as well. So probably just to preface this, obviously, it's a third-person action game. It is a third-person shooter, but I lean more towards action because melee is a big part of it. Lots of guns, lots of things that, you know, slice, tear in the sense of a chainsaw, and smash, like hammers and stuff.
How are the cum gutters?
It is. You do see old mate with his pants off, so
You see a lot of him, yeah.
you do.
They
You see
don't
a lot
look
of
like they'd have cum gutters though. They're not built like that.
They
They
do
seem
look
like
like they're chiseled though, like every
yeah.
part of
Oh,
them. is
okay.
Fuck me
Interesting.
for liking my ass slapped, and then
I
you
know.
just throw in cum
Mhm.
gutters. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you
double
prefer
standards.
like spoof chasms?
And that's the third reference to spoof today. Adam's walking away. We've done it. He's still got his headphones on, so I'm still going to answer his question. But obviously, Warhammer
That
as
is
a lore
very
has
good.
it has a shitload of things to cut, stab, and shoot. They've done a great job of realizing basically 90% of what you'd expect to be in the game. Whether it's, you know, shooting rocket-propelled bullets, whether it's shooting superheated plasma, or whether it's a melter gun, which is quite literally like a shotgun that just blasts a massive wave of superheated power. And they've made it that you can sort of discover these weapons if you are exploring during the game, but then they will also hand them to you at times. They'll go, hey, here's a new thing. Hey, you should use this now. And when you mix together the different melee weapons, which each have their own combos and effective uses against enemies, and the guns that you have, and then the spaces you inhabit and the enemies you encounter, every sort of moment-to-moment thing that you're doing comes down to measuring your situation and reacting accordingly, and just doing it in grand fashion. There is a bit of subtlety to it. There's a bit of finesse. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like, you know, full-on Sekiro level shit, but like, when you are being swarmed by like 30 tiny dudes, there's like 6 medium-sized dudes and one fuck-off massive size of a bus dude. You sort of need to stop and go, right, how do I solve this problem before I get turned into literal paste? And that's sort of your moment. And remember, you always have two friends with you, whether they're AI or not. You can still lean into a cool dynamic between what you're wanting to do, what you can do, and what you're afforded to do. So
I feel that. I have one final question.
go for it.
Are there any big bullshit cinematic moments where you're like driving a fucking mega truck or like you're manning a cannon or some bullshit like that? Or is it just they stick to what they're doing? I don't want any spoilers, just like a
Okay.
yes or a no or...
There are, again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are just a few brief moments in the game where how you control Titus changes to account for what you're currently doing for no other reason than to say, here's a fucking awesome moment that could have been a cutscene, but fuck you, you're doing it.
Love it.
And
That's what I
it's
wanted
awesome.
to hear.
Yeah, and I remember when I was getting my footage together ready for the review, I said this to you, James, I was like, I'm going to cull everything that I deem too cool to show, and I ended up losing 60% of my clips. I was like, that's fucking awesome, but I can't put that in the review, and that's fucking awesome. Someone needs to see that for themselves, and just binned it all. Yeah. The one thing I will
play
add,
more of this game.
I was going to say, this is my final point I'll add, is just simply, obviously the game's out now. I've got like 2 or 3 friends who've picked it up and started playing it, and I can jump in and play second stringer to their Titus adventure. The game is still fucking cool when you're not the main character. Like, I didn't realize there's actually really cool moments for either of the sort of second stringer AI guys that when you're playing the game, you see them go do something and they come out okay at the end of it, so I guess it was fine. But then you do it and you realize it's actually a really cool set piece for that person that you only ever see that if you get to inhabit them. So
That's rad.
When you finish the game, if you got a friend who's just starting, jump in. You'll have a fucking great time too. Just because your face isn't on the box, it doesn't mean you're not gonna have a great time. It's so fun.
Oh, actually, the campaign can be done co-op though, right?
Absolutely, the whole thing. Well,
Okay.
sorry. Everything but the intro, but that's only because the intro is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's just
cool.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And there are separate missions that you can do that are like side stories that are co-op as well, which we tried to do. And yeah,
it didn't work at that time, but I figured that out now. But yeah, there's the operations mode, which is literally self-contained co-op missions that technically tie into the narrative. That's stuff that happens off screen, and they're the ones that sort of you go back and replay because they've got like difficulty levels and there's 6 classes to level and there's cosmetics and shit. That's the replayability, and it's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
All right, what did you score it?
Mate,
10?
it was a fucking 9.5, and I probably would have done a 9.75. The only reason it's not a 10 is because I think that there are just a couple of very, very minor things that you do notice that go like, it doesn't matter how good this game is, I can't forgive that. Things like there's just a weird visual pop in at times that game's stunning, but it's noticeable when a dude's face looks like, 2006 Unreal Engine for half a second when the cutscene starts. That, and some people probably don't like a 10-hour campaign. I think they're mad, but I can appreciate that some people complain about that. So,
as in it's too short, you mean?
Some people think that 10 hours for an epic campaign is too short. Okay.
Epic.
I can recognize that. Epic. So yeah, Space Marine 2 is available everywhere. Fucking play it.
Sick.
Side point. If you play the game and you've never played Warhammer before, don't get to the tabletop. Don't start playing the game.
There's a lot of the game and you've never played Warhammer, don't start.
If you just spent $120 on Space Marine 2, that is the cheapest entry point. Just stop there. You'll be fine. Be fine.
Obvious question. If you're not a fucking nerd and don't play Warhammer, are you gonna be all good playing this?
You will. I think the biggest debt of knowledge you need going into this game is the first fucking game.
Okay.
Play the first one. But no, if it's easy to understand. It's like how much do you need to know about Gears of War before you start playing that game and you go, oh, I see, I'm a massive man with a chainsaw gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of thing. You're like, oh, I'm a massive man with a chainsaw sword, and the rest just makes sense. But yeah, the first game is very heavily referenced. So if you haven't played it, pick it up on Steam. It's cheap. It's good.
Very nice. All right, cool. Let's power forward because we've still got a little bit
topics coming up.
Got some Zach topics to talk about. I won't be that long, so don't stress, people. All right, I reviewed the casting of Frank Stone, which is the Supermassive Games interactive movie, cinematic, choose your own adventure game, much like all their other games that they have made, like Until Dawn's, The Quarries, and that sort of stuff. But this one is set in the Dead by Daylight universe. Now, much like the question I just asked I asked Ash, you don't need to know much about Dead by Daylight to play this game. I think it's just set in the universe. I did a little bit of Googling after I kind of finished to kind of try and pick up what was actually, what are the hooks here? Like what is from Dead by Daylight.
Because Dead by Daylight has hooks. Anyway.
Hey.
Zach
he had no idea.
Know anything about, Zach knows something about Dead by Daylight, so
well,
he made a reference without realising it.
No, I knew that because I read, but I didn't intentionally make that note. That was anyway. So it is basically set. The main story is set across 2 timelines. You do start in the 60s, early on in the first kind of like in the prologue, which sets up the game. But the main game is set in the 80s, where you play as a group of 4 teenagers making a low budget horror film called Murder Mill. And the second timeline is the modern day in England. You're a group of adults in a mysterious manor. Now, in the 80s, the characters that you're making, it's set in a town called Cedar Hills, which is where a serial killer named Frank Stone, in the prologue, your character shoots Frank Stone and kills him in this steel mill. Now, in the 80s, this steel mill is now abandoned, so these kids are using it as a backdrop for their horror film. In the modern day,
What could go wrong?
So the film is quite rare, but it's like a culty kind of film. It's got a bit of a reputation. So there's a collector, and basically this collector has invited you to her manor and wants to basically purchase your sections of the film. And that's essentially the base, right? That's kind of where, and then you play from there. I really, really like this premise. I really think it's quite interesting one. I think it works really well for this kind of game. I think the overall story is a bit flat though, and descends into kind of weirdness. I think there is a tiny little bit of Dead by Daylight stuff towards the end, which I won't go into. But most of it, I think, is just a bit fucking strange. It I think it does a little bit too much. And my main gripe with the story and the game itself is that Frank Stone is more of a background kind of character. He's not in there. He's not in the game a lot.
Doesn't he die at the start? Didn't you say you shoot him in the intro?
He does, but he plays a part later on.
Would you believe that the slasher villain that dies in the intro is not actually dead?
So
I don't know.
yeah, so his character is limited, even though that's kind of the main appeal. There is some really, really cool atmosphere. I thought, especially in the abandoned steel mill. I don't think it's visually amazing. I think it does a pretty good job. A bit like kind of you were saying, Ash. There's a little bit of, and James, you've played it as well. Did you notice like a little bit of the textures were a little bit slow to load at times?
Yeah. It's a very nice looking game. It's just kind of wobbly.
Yeah. It's like it'd be double A, but maybe and a half.
Double A.5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two uppercase A's and a lowercase A.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's not The Quarry, but it's also not,
Yeah, it's not Until Dawn, but it's it's kind of similar to the Dark Pictures kind of game. So I'd say probably it's on par with that. I think it looks really well. I didn't hear the question because you kind of cut out there, Adam. But what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that's exactly it. If it is kind of more on par with Dark Pictures rather than The Quarry, because there is kind of a cool.
Yes, and there's some really cool light. I think they do a really good job of some of the lighting, especially in like the manor and stuff like that. Character models are a little bit janky, a little bit.
They
the faces are a bit
really good when they're not moving, and then when they have to start talking, it's like someone has like hand animated the mouths and the eyes to just do like that. It's not.
But just on the cast, and James, I think you and I agree with this. The cast is very forgettable. Like I actually didn't even write about the cast in my review. It wasn't until I was kind of at the end, I was like, I've written about anybody actually in the cast, and I was like, and moved on. Like,
there's like one character I like, and everyone else is just a kind of a hodgepodge of snark.
Was it the older version? Was it? Yeah. Okay. Thought so. I mean, yeah, like she was probably the best. Yeah.
Oh man, I'll run over to Zach's review and read about the cast. Oh, never mind.
Apart from that, it's your standard supermassive kind of game. Gameplay is limited to just walking about. I thought the movement was a little bit off at times. The turning was like fucking Titanic turning,
just like Dead by Daylight.
And it's QTEs. What I did like about the QTEs though is they give you like an opportunity window. So there's a in certain ones. So instead of pushing square and you got to push it right, it'll push. Imagine like a window.
Goes around a circle. It's Dead by Daylight QTEs. Okay,
it's like massive reloads.
Yeah, I did read that. So so there's when you're repairing a generator, which by the way, every fucking person in this game is a mechanic. If you're
in the Dead by Daylight universe, you have to be.
So I know that's the thing. But yeah, you do the repair and it gives you like a window, and if you hit it like in this little tiny perfect thing, it speeds up the thing. And but I think it's quite nice. Every now and again that'll be in the choices that you make as well. Like there are some key choices, and that window of opportunity is there as well. I don't know what happens if you get it perfect versus just in the actual
So wait, when you say choices, do you mean like there's like dialogue things that happen and like call
It's
Becky
like
as try and hit the thing at the same
I
time?
don't know. Let's just say I'll give you a hypothetical that's not in the game, but a similar thing. Like your character is about to fall off a ledge, right? And there's spikes below. You got to quickly push the QTE and your character grabs them or whatever. Or if you don't push the button quickly, whatever. Yeah.
They just mega grab the ledge if you hit it perfectly.
So
yeah. But Ash, to answer your question, there are vague narrative ones as well.
Yeah.
So you can like choose certain ways you respond to characters or deal with a certain social situation.
Think of a witty retort. Oh fuck, I missed it.
There's also a relationship kind of system in here, but I don't think it really does much. And I felt like a lot of the choices were a bit pointless. Like, there's like a little bit of a lover's tiff that kind of goes on in the 80s, and yes, some of the choices between that were like not that but one thing I did like is there are some choices that you make that are minimal in their appearance but impactful in their outcomes, if that kind of makes sense. So you might choose to do a particular thing in the 3rd hour of the game or whatever it might be, right, at a certain point in the game, and then in the 5th hour that choice actually comes back to haunt you or work for you.
Okay.
Yeah, which is quite neat. The only thing that I don't like about that, though, is that there's no clues and hints as to what this potentially could be. So it just feels a bit like luck, right? Overall, I gave it a 6 out of 10. It's about 6 hours, 6 out of 10. I don't think it's their best work. I don't think it's their worst work. But the story kind of, it did get a bit just too... I had no idea what the fuck was going on. Like, and the ending, I was like, I don't really know like what happened.
So is that just because like it was really Dead by Daylight-y? Like look, there is
I
a
don't
lore
know.
to Dead by Daylight. It's not a great lore, but it's a lore. Is it the game started to do shit to explain how it existed in the universe, and you're like, okay.
It's not so much. James, what did you make of it? The ending. Have you played Dead by Daylight? I think you've played.
No. Well, I mean, like, I had like one stint at it. It's like a very popular game in queer communities. I think it's kind of insufferably whatever. Whatever. We're not here for that. I thought that the way this kind of like deals with its narrative, it just does a lot of tropey shit that I don't particularly care for. And so, like, by the time I got to that ending, I had very much tuned out of what was going on.
But it got to a point where it was like, and it's now starting to get a bit nonsense. Like it's just getting.
Oh yeah, but yes, agreed.
Yeah, yes. And yeah. Anyway, 6 out of 10. James, what did you score it? If you haven't,
I have not slapped a score on it yet, but I'm thinking a 6. Yeah,
cool, very nice. Yeah, some cool. Yeah, I really did like. Oh, and there's another. Sorry, and just the thing with Frank Stone, just to quickly, is that he's not threatening at all. Like there's not combat, but there's like gameplay that you do, and he never kind of ever gets close to you. You basically have to point this camera at him and click shoot or whatever the fuck it is, and you do it enough, and he'll just be vanquished.
So what is the Frank Stone mechanic? Is he like the Xenomorph in Aliens Isolation? Like, does he just sort of stalk you?
No.
There's just parts where he turns up and you take his picture and he fucks off.
He just they signpost him, very, whoa, there's this thing appearing, and Frank Stone appears, and you get up the camera and you just stand there, and he fucking lumbers towards you.
Sounds like an annoying uncle. Oh, Frank, go away.
You've been watching the footy. No, Uncle Frank.
Very, very quick.
Who are you going for this year?
Very, very quickly. Last time we spoke about the Pixel 9 phones, I've had the pleasure of using the Pixel 9 Fold, Pro 9 Pro Fold. You can see it here. A couple of screens there. It's blurred
like
out.
A DS.
It is a little bit, yeah, a little bit. Look, this is a very expensive piece of hardware. It's like nearly 3K. I think it's 2,699 for
Holy shit, really?
For the 256 model. Might need a fact check on that one. There's also a 512 model as well, but I believe it's about that. Look, it's got a fold phone is not my thing, right? Like I just like a normal portrait phone. The
rectangle for me.
2699 is correct, mate.
For 256, yeah, nice. Look, if you are someone who likes to watch shit in bed, or it'd be good for like playing like mobile games and stuff like that. The only thing with the videos is it doesn't sort of take up the whole screen because the screen is square. It kind of just
square. You can watch shit from the 80s. It'll be great.
The screen is very, very cool. The screen on the inside is better than the one on the outside. This is more the Pixel 9 sort of screen, whereas the one on the inside is the better version of the screen.
So it's a full screen on the front, and then you fold it open to another massive screen.
So there's a screen on the front, correct? You can't it keeps blurring it, but then there's an actual screen on the inside.
So what you're telling me is there's now so much more shit to scratch and crack and fuck up.
Correct.
In your phone.
And there's obviously some durability questions about it, about these types of phones. Looks good, but look after it. One thing I do quite like is that the hinge in the middle of the spine thing isn't quite as noticeable as I thought it might have been, or on like other phones. They do seem to be getting better at that. 8 inches across is the big one, and 6.3 I think for the one on the outside. Any questions? Camera's not quite as good. This is where it gets a bit odd, right? Is that the camera, while still good, isn't actually the same as what's in the Pro.
Huh.
But it's called the Pro, though. It's called the Google 9 Pro Fold, right?
Correct, which is fucking confusing.
But it doesn't have parity between...
No.
Yeah, right. That is very odd.
It's maybe it's a pricing thing. I don't know. And there's like the screen. So this screen isn't quite doesn't quite have the hertz as the Pixel 9, for example. So there's some little things there that's like you're paying this huge premium price, but not quite getting a premium phone. The one very, very last thing, the 2 folding thing. There is a camera. What you can do with the camera, I'll try and... Oops, that's my work fucking pin number. What I can show you is the... let's see. So I'm taking a picture of you guys at the moment. You can actually use this thing called dual screen. Okay, can't you see? And you can kind of see. Oh, yeah. So it actually shows you on the front like what I'm taking a picture of. So if James is like, "Hey, James, you're looking pretty sexy right now." Yeah. The other thing that's cool is this feature. This is probably more for you, Ash, because you got little wailings about. But there's this thing on the.
Oh.
So it's called Made You Look. So if you want to take a picture of the kid, it's like, hey, and yeah, there's some other cool shit that you can do with the screens. But look, not for me. Fucking expensive, but still an impressive piece of tech.
I hate to admit, but that's a cool feature, that Made You Look thing.
I tried it on Anna and can confirm it worked. So,
but do you take photos like she sees the chicken and sort of just goes?
No, I was just like, hey, and had it on, and they're like,
so. Lock the fuck in on the chicken.
Huge success.
Anyway, review will be up soon, so you can read that. There. All right, pound round for Ash.
Yeah. Oh. Get pounded in my power round. So let's do this quick and simple. I've had a absolutely flat out couple of weeks. I've had 4 massive reviews. Space Marine 2 was obviously done and dusted, but I've also had 3 other games that I looked at. The first of which is Sumerian 6, which was a very cool game. It's one of those micromanager games in the vein of things like Commandos. If you remember playing the games from a developer called Mimimi, they made Ico's Choice and Shadow Assassins. Very cool games. Mimimi games shut down, so everybody who's in that niche sort of lamented, no, who's going to make these games now? Well, good news. Apparently, Artificer Games are going to be making Sumerian 6, and it scratches that itch beautifully. The whole, you've got 6 dudes, you can make them all do different things, queue it up, and then, have these strategic things, rewind, try again, save scum. That kind of stuff. Really good game. I think I gave it an 8. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. It had some, polish issues, just, some things hung up and some texture shit happened, and if you don't have the patience for it, you're probably not going to engage with it, so that's comes with the territory. The other game that I played was Demon's Mirror from B-Rad Entertainment. Small team, very cool concept. It is a card battler like Slay the Spire, but they've crowbarred the entirety of Marvel Puzzle Quest into it with matching things on a match 3 board. I mean it, they just shoved that bastard in there. 30% of your screen's taken up by this massive board, but the whole idea of that is it's sort of the run-based thing. You pick a class at the start, which is represented by a cool character. They have unique decks and abilities and sort of quirks to how they play. You draft cards as you fight things and get treasure. But the average turn experience is you sort of look at your mana, look at your cards, and look at your board, and then figure out what do you want to do. Do you want to match up things on the board to do damage or reduce the damage you take? Do you want to match up things on the board to gain a certain resource that buffs your cards? Or are your cards going to do it for you and you can just do that? Or mix and match, that kind of stuff. It has that fiendish energy of just one more run that captures you, which I think is really awesome because the game it's that kind of game that when you lose, it doesn't feel bad. You sort of go, it wasn't the run, it wasn't for me, but let's jump back in and try it again. And you unlock more and more stuff like cards and stuff to keep sort of fleshing out these characters, which is awesome. It also has my favorite incarnation of dialer difficulty where there's like a whole control panel of changing things that'll give you bonuses and things. So like you can reduce the amount of damage you take, but it's going to reduce the amount of experience you gain. So, there's a cool trade-off. So if you're struggling with the game, rein it in. Who cares? It's your game. Do what you like. And then if you want to, you can also make it harder and get more rewards, which is sweet. It is cheap on Steam. I think it's like a $25 game. I think it's awesome, and you should definitely check it out. And I think I gave that one. I think that got a big 8 as well. I think I might have even got it 8.5. Great. The other big one I did doesn't really need an introduction. It's Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, which is rounding out, the collection of all of the original Ace Attorney games. It obviously is the cooler one because it obviously captures the sequel to Ace Attorney Investigations that never reached outside of Japan. There was never a translation for it. I never engaged with this. I think I even said in my review, it sort of felt like the weird cousin that you never really see, so you don't really pay much attention. There's no room in your mind palace for it. It's not a real Ace Attorney game. But it turns out it is. It's actually got a really cool twist on the formula because the whole idea is that you can actually navigate around spaces and look at things. And it actually has a massive sort of injection of point and click adventure game mechanics with the whole idea of use the rubber chicken with the pulley to get across something, but with logic puzzles, which is really neat. It also, the sequel actually probably has one of the most interesting stories I've seen in the Ace Attorney series. Ace Attorney games are always very jovial and fun and a bit quirky and punny, but there never really feels like there's much stakes. Sort of, somebody, oh no, something's going to happen and they're going to lose their job, but, at the end, it's okay, they can come work for me. But the second one actually...
Meanwhile, someone's dead the whole time, by the way.
They don't count. They don't get... The victims never have punny names. The criminals do, you see? Clown, honk, the nose. But, the second game actually has a really cool thing where, I guess Miles Edgeworth, who's, the main character of this one's, encounters a prosecutor whose job is to basically eliminate shitty prosecutors and get them deregistered from being a prosecutor. And Miles Edgeworth, if you were to do a personality profile on him, you just write the word prosecutor, and that's it. Prosecutor, wears a cravat. That's it. So it's quite interesting seeing sort of this punny story, but his actual, sensibilities getting questioned, which is very fun, and I really enjoyed it. Mad props to the team, obviously making it very cool, and I think in some ways they actually did take into account some of the fan translation things that had happened, but they did give people some punny names, which is good. I also like the minigames in it a lot more because it's a much more straightforward idea of here, solve a problem by applying logic to it. Why was this here and who brought it there, and then make the connection. So I dig it. I dig it a lot. I gave that one 9 because it was sweet. And just, if you like those games, you will love this. If you have not engaged with the series before, this is the best incarnation of it with all of the trimmings to possibly round off some of the more frictional sides of, that formula that might have been hard to engage with back in the old days, but nowadays they made it a bit easier.
Nice.
Nice work.
And that is you having taken a pound in my power round. Wait, let's move on from that. I don't like those words.
Lot
Good
going
job.
on there. Thank you
Good
for getting that done.
job. All right. Jim Jams's jungle of
News.
journalism.
What?
I don't know. The news.
Triple J.
Terrible. Hated it.
Before we get into the news, I just pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But at the time of recording, we're 3 hours out from the announcement of the PS5 Pro. So obviously
Rude.
we weren't able to talk about specifics tonight. I just want to do a quick lightning round. Price predictions. What do you think is going to happen with this thing? And then I will cut in our later conversation after we do this so we can embarrass ourselves. Adam.
I don't give a fuck. Sorry, Adam from WellPlayed here. I don't give a fuck about the leaks and all of that jazz. It's not a PS5 Pro. It's a handheld console. It's not the Vita 2, but it's a handheld console. It's going to be wonderful. I'm so excited.
He's been sitting on that for a while.
Yep.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Ash Whaling from WellPlayed here. I don't have any idea what the price will be, so I'm not even engaging with the question, but I'm going to put forward. Remember there was a leak about a DualSense 2 sort of earlier in the year? Do we think we're going to finally see that rear its head? Yeah, apparently Best Buy in America had a listing for a DualSense new version thing, and then they pulled it.
Oh, okay.
Best way to push the market towards that is to raise the price of the old one. So
Exactly. Yeah.
100% on board.
Well, I mean, you think about it, if they establish a baseline price of like, oh yeah, the regular DualSense is like $120, then they can be like, well, the DualSense 2 has to be $180, you know? Because it's got a 2.
That's the economy.
Yeah. That's the
What
cost
price
of
is this
living,
bastard
guys.
going to be?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So what? If your base PS5 is at what, $800 Australian?
Yeah.
Right. So even if they did chop off the disk drive to save money for the Pro, I imagine we're looking at what, $900 to $950?
Jesus Christ.
I
Like,
mean,
is that where we're at now?
I think it's real. I don't think they're going to go for a cool grand again, but I think $949
Yeah, $949.99. Yeah.
just for the attractive number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does anyone here want it?
Want is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
I think I'm squarely on the fence. Look, if they go, here's the PS5 Pro, it is this, and they just sort of go a side-by-side comparison with the original PS5, and they go, it's just the PS5, but more. It's got a bigger drive. It's got more gigabits. It's got 25 teraflops, you know. But if they say, so we've actually got an integrated, you know, DLSS chip for AI frame generation, so, you know, you can have 120 frames. I'm not going to rush to get it, but I'll be 100% more interested. If it's the PS5 but smaller and beefier, don't care. If it has a hook that is interesting to me, I will consider it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. I'm in full agreement. If they do something with super sampling and they make it so I don't have to choose between fidelity and performance, then it would be attractive to me, even though that was the original promise of the PlayStation.
I was going to say, isn't that where we were 5 years ago?
Did they start like taking 8K off the boxes recently?
Yeah.
Like,
But also, it at the end of the day, it'll be a fear of missing out situation, and there's a good chance that I'm gonna get around it regardless because I'm like that. But we'll see. I don't know. I want to be blown away. Don't expect to be. We'll see at 1 a.m.
It's one of those things for me where it's like I want to play the best versions of the games as possible. Yep. So yes, I'm keen. Do I think we need it? Probably not.
So,
but
at that point then, what if the announcement of the PS5 Pro comes with, and we've got PS5 Pro enhancement patches for these well-known games?
Well, I think that'll come, right? Like
it'd have to, right?
Yeah, like yeah.
Well, I mean, the PS4, what was it? The PS4 launched the PS4 Pro with what, like a special version for Monster Hunter?
Sure.
I just remember that I was not attracted to the PS4 Pro when it first came out because I couldn't actually quantify a particular game that was like, hell yeah, PS4 Pro is the way to play. I was like,
In terms of price, what was the launch PS5?
$799,
wasn't it? Was it?
800.
I'm gonna go.
Down, has it?
I'm gonna go $1049 for the Pro.
Oh, you reckon they're going to breach the K?
A big 4 digits.
Okay.
If that's $800,
yeah,
the terabyte will be in surely, rather than that little fucking. Was it 6?
But aftermarket drives, my guy.
I do want one of those things so badly.
You'll get the new updated DualSense.
Oh, you okay?
Or maybe it
Dual
ships
Sense
with an
2,
edge.
Triple Sense.
V2, the V2.
It can't
won't
ship with
come
an
with an
edge.
edge.
They wouldn't
No,
be
no,
edges,
no,
60
no,
dollars.
can't do it. Yeah, no,
Maybe
it'll
they'll
be
throw in a what's the little fucking handheld
Portal?
nobody bought? Yeah, the Portal. Yeah.
Yeah, the Portal.
Stop wanting a portal, James. I'm not having this conversation with you again.
He's trying to manifest it, okay?
God damn.
Yeah, I reckon I'm going the other side. I think cost of doing business and shit like that, you know, all the cost of shit has gone up.
Mm.
I think people are going to buy it regardless, within reason. But it needs something.
I think you'll get a niche price market on
I think it
this.
needs a killer app.
Absolutely.
Bloodborne 2.
I think we'll get Wolverine.
Bloodborne Remastered, only on PS5 Pro.
That would get me. Motherfuckers.
140 frames with super sampling and
Anyway,
yes.
by the time this goes live, James, what do you think the price is going to be?
I reckon $9.49.
Okay.
I reckon, I don't think they would be insane to breach. Okay, in this economy, I think that would be like get a second job levels of PlayStation overconfidence.
Sure.
But I mean, they're back in that position, right? Like the Xbox is kind of dead in the water, and Nintendo's doing their own thing. So, my only thing. I hate that the race to fidelity has pushed us to this point where we've got games that are stagnating mechanically but look incredible, and I would really prefer we flip that equation. But
Yep.
I would be sold though if it was the PS1 Grey. Just saying.
Oh,
they
nice.
keep showing off that DualSense that has the colors.
Oh, do they? Oh, I've not seen anything.
It just keeps popping up in Uncle works for Nintendo kind of shit. It just keeps popping up in grainy photos. It's like, whoa.
30th year anniversary as well. Let's fucking do it. Alrighty, we're just going to pump the brakes on the podcast there and jump to the future for a little bit. The PS5 Pro event has happened. We have the details here. We're going to chat about it very, very quickly, and then we'll get back to the potty proper. James, Adam, Ash, what do we think and make of the PS5 Mark Cerny event? God, that guy's a weird looking dude. Like, he looks like a dork, mate. He's like, when you say the word dork, he looks like what I think a dork would look like. And that's nothing against him.
My favourite thing is that we had 3 separate, like, he looks likes in our Slack channel. Like, I was like...
all of them are accurate, though. That's the thing.
It was wild, yeah. Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
That's why I said he's Dana Carey, Master of Disguise, mate. He's the Master of Disguise.
Yeah, right. That fits.
Matter, am I not turtly enough for Turtle Club? I just want to speak to the vibe because I actually stayed up to watch it, so I got to see the YouTube for it. Yeah, well, it was a 9-minute presentation, and you know they sort of said, "Hey, there's 3 things that we want to do," and people sort of vibing with that, and then they hit the price, and just watching the chat go, brrr, just LOL, the whole, like it just went into hyperspeed. I was like, "Yep, that's what I expected," but let's get to actual impressions on what it promises rather than what it's being.
Just very quickly,
price stats.
We're not going to restart it, but I didn't hit record on the video, so this is just going to be a splash image with a fucking audio in the background. Apologies if you are listening, wondering where the fuck we've gone, but you know, I had one job.
Good work.
It's because you rushed me with that time dot is 30 seconds bullshit.
Yeah, clearly it's time.is fault. Imagine if we clapped.
Yeah.
Would have had to go back. All right.
Well, let's talk about the promises. So they led with the big 3. Okay, these are the 3 things that they were doing. So Adam, you penned the piece. Let's tell us, what is it going to change our lives with?
Absolutely, mate. Monster 3. First cab off the rank is the upgraded GPU. So apparently, the compute units, there are 67% more of them, and it's 28% faster in the memory department. So overall, this is going to make it 45% faster for rendering gameplay. Smoother experience, boys. Smoother. We're all about smooth on this podcast, apparently. It's also going to have, the second of the 3 is advanced ray tracing. We've added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast at double and at times triple the speed of the current PS5 console. Wonderful.
Triple rays?
Was
Triple
that
race
initially
all the way across the sky.
a Mark Cerny like voice, and then you kind of just lost it and just went in back to your own? I thought
No, that's just
there was a
straight
little
off the
bit of a
dome.
thing there. Oh, okay, right.
Did I look like him? Did I have like the Willy Wonka hat? And the last thing is maybe probably the most exciting thing, I suppose, is AI-driven upscaling. So it's like NVIDIA DLSS, except it's PSSR, which just rolls off the tongue.
I know.
PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, an AI-driven upscaling.
Like schoolyard discussions being like, guys, did you see the PS5 Pro? Oh, they've got like pisser in it now. It's going to make things so much cooler. Like, Jesus.
It's a little bit too close to the USSR for me, so it made me shudder a little bit.
Comrade PlayStation.
But yeah, so machine-based learning. But yeah, it's going to add clarity to... The whole idea is to kind of get rid of the choice between fidelity mode and performance. And the AI-driven upscaling is going to do a great deal of the heavy lifting with that. So if you're in graphics mode, it'll boost your frames. If you're in performance mode, it'll sharpen the image.
They want to get rid of the choice or close the gulf.
Yes. Yes, which is very much worth noting that it was not you won't need to choose, it's you'll probably need to choose less often.
Games are just gorgeous out of the box, apparently.
Yeah, I know.
I do think that PlayStation is relatively aware of this console and its appeal, though, a little bit. I don't think this was a groundbreaking event.
Yeah.
This was, we're throwing Mark Cerny up to talk specs at you. So I think they do realise, but the price is where we all kind of took a...
Yeah, so
I think
not to tease you any longer. You've seen it by now, but in Australia, which just checking again, we're all still in the country. Yep.
Does Tasmania count? Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
It doesn't. It'll be $1,199.95, which is, as I put in my my news piece, it's actually the same price as my car insurance for the entire year. So if I just uninsure my car, I may as well just buy one.
Does your car give you advanced ray tracing?
I don't think my car
does your car have pisser in it?
I don't think it's got any compute units. So realistically, I might just put it in.
You may as well drive one of these, mate. Get some wheels on it.
Yeah, mate.
Zero. Yeah,
absolutely. Astro Bot can drive it, so can I. But I do agree, Zach, with your kind of temperature check on it, though, because it's a pro technical presentation hosted by Mark Cerny, so it's not like the big reveal at the end of a PlayStation State of Play or anything like that. Its appeal is to a very niche market, right? Of the tech sickos that don't want to choose. They have an 8K TV that can run at fucking 6 million frames. They know who they're marketing this towards, and it is the premium customer who is okay with dropping insane amount of money on tech. So, I mean, I'm sure it speaks to some people. I just don't think it's any of us in this digital room.
So, what was the appeal of this presentation? What sort of, you said it's not the end of a big sort of PlayStation presentation. It was just sort of a quick, it was literally 9 minutes. It was just, hey guys, look at this, and then moving on. So,
Ash, you and I work in a similar kind of field outside of WellPlayed duties. We've both been in many of a meeting that could have been an email.
An email, yeah.
That's what this is. Realistically, it was a blog post, a PlayStation blog post that was read out by Mark Cerny.
Actually.
I think he's just really excited about the hardware, and he's like, "Oh no, put me in front of the camera so I can give away a golden ticket." And they were like, "Sure, let's do that." But yeah, I don't know. I think the weird energy for me with the presentation was it opened with showing what the PS5 does already. And to me, that was a great reminder that the console fucking rules. Like, the base PS5 is an exceptionally good console. So past us, who were just talking about the PS5 Pro speculating, I was like, yeah, I'll probably get this because I don't want to choose. I listened to the first 3 minutes of the presentation and was like, fuck this. I don't need the PS5 Pro. The PS5 base is awesome. And that's where I'm at now. I'm not spending $1,200.
I said earlier today that they managed to completely undermine their presentation to the point where it was no longer a hard sell for me. It was just flat out a no sell.
Yeah.
And, seconds ago, past Ash was like, oh, if it comes with some killer feature like, AI-driven upscaling, then I'll probably be on board. But
I think this is
they've
the
literally
thing, though.
come
I
out
don't
and
think
said,
they
here
were
it is.
selling it to you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they...
No.
Like, the vibe was not, you need this. This is going to be...
Well, that's the problem when you show off your new killer product that you're trying to sell, though. Like,
Yeah, if this is all you're going to put out before you make pre-orders live on a $1,200 console, then I think you've done a bad job of convincing people why they need a $1,200 console.
Well, that's the thing. I
think
don't know. If, I think they... just from gauging what they've put out, I think they are aware that this is an expensive console. This is probably not going to do PS5 numbers in terms of sales because of the price.
They've commented on it. They've just said that, we expect that this is going to have... Well, there's been comments made. Obviously, everyone's going, holy shit, the price. Well, people from PlayStation have just flat out said that, we feel that there's a position in the market where this is acceptable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like people, like I said it in the just before, like people will buy this. There's no, people are going to buy this, and it's gonna. I think it'll sell pretty well early on. I think you might have that kind of VR2 or VR thing where it's like after the initial wave, it sort of drops off a little bit. It won't be quite as in demand as the other console.
And the price will drop over time as well.
You'd fucking hope so.
Well, as the PS5 dropped, I don't know if it actually has, right?
It got more expensive in certain markets.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
I do like that it's got Wi-Fi 7, by the way. I think that is a cool thing. So it is compatible with the latest Wi-Fi type. They actually did go into detail in the blog post as to what, and again, we talked about this just before, is that what's the hook? Like what's going to get you over the line? What's going to make you pull out $1,200 out of your bank account and give it to PlayStation, right? And they did say that, and this is from the blog post, some games you can look forward to include, this is the PS5 Pro Enhanced, or the enhancements, and they kind of reeled off some games, and which include your PlayStation Studios and third-party games such as Alan Wake 2, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Demon's Souls, Dragon's Dogma 2, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Gran Turismo 7, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon Forbidden West, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, The Crew Motorfest, random, The First Descendant, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, and more.
I do think it's kind of wild that only one of those games is a future release and the rest are games that largely people who are more likely to buy this console have probably already played.
To death.
I agreed, and I was reading something. I think I read something. But they said this then gives, because of this, the way this presentation was done, this now gives the platform or the opportunity to your third-party people to basically announce that themselves rather than...
True.
Yeah.
Okay,
True.
Right. Yeah, right. Okay.
I suppose,
But I do agree
is
that,
out of the bag.
I thought we would have had something like, I don't know, what's a fucking big game coming up? Let's say FIFA, like, FC 20...
Oh, yeah. That'll
5?
be huge on
6.
PS5 Pro.
Fucking, I can't remember what year we're at for the game. But the new FC game, that's coming in like a month or whatever it might be. Or whatever game, sorry, that's probably a bad example. Whatever game is launching alongside this. Sorry, I forgot that this was coming in November.
Is there a PlayStation game launching alongside this?
No, but like
haven't they also now...
a third-party game.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
okay.
like there's got to be something that's coming in that time frame. Can't wait to play Indiana Jones PS5 Pro Enhanced.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But yeah, no, I think
Starfield Day 1 PlayStation Edition Enhanced with PS Pro. Like,
there is just very quickly one more kind of semi-pivotal thing too, I suppose. It will have a 2 terabyte SSD internally, which is double what is in the Slim, which is kind of what they're pushing at the moment.
Did we expect that last night? No, just before. Sorry.
I think I brought it up as like a thing that I would like to see.
Right.
James mentioned it, and I said, "Oh, you won't have to install a manual one."
Sure, because when I did the 1049, I was still expecting the 1 terabyte.
It definitely doesn't have a disk drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or a stand.
or a stand. That
The
is sold separately
the
for like
stand is
$40.
weird, but
The stand they haven't included since they did the jump to the Slim. The Slims don't have the stand either. So that I wasn't, to be honest, that shocked by. I was...
can it lay flat?
I don't know.
How do you stand it?
The Slims lay flat without a stand.
Right. Okay.
The shell is, I don't know. I haven't got one. I've still got my base model because it's fucking sick, as they reminded me. James, you will want this because it comes a day before Slitterhead.
Oh shit! A graphical powerhouse. Slitterhead. Slitterhead PS5 Pro enhanced.
What do we
Get around it.
What do we make of the no disk drive?
I think it's bad. I think it's a really bad move.
They're selling it separately, so...
Yeah, exactly. To sell it separately is kind of scummy. I think it brings the cost up to $1,300-ish if you're an Australian and your internet is not capable of, having an entirely digital library and whatnot. So, I think that sucks. I think any sort of move that pushes us further away from any sort of ownership over our media is bad.
Are you surprised, though?
I'm surprised there's not a variant that has one or pre-installed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm with James there. I feel like there's been enough user base feedback on liking to have physical media that, what was it like the initial release of the PlayStation 5? They were selling out of disk drive ones well before the digital ones were even considered. Like the consumers were speaking, and that was the more expensive version. But people still went, "Yeah, I want that one."
I do wonder, though, if they have metrics to show, because obviously they've got a target demographic for this machine, right? And it's not like a mum and dad that are walking into, God help them, EB Games and picking up a PS5 for their kids. I wonder if they have the metrics to show, the download rate for their core demographic versus the physical sales for the core demographic.
Well, who here has bought a game... or how many games, I guess, in the last 12 months? Physical games.
A few.
Most, if not all. Most, if not all.
How many is that, though?
I'm looking right now. 2, 4, 6, 9.
You bought 9 games?
Since the start of the year.
Fucking hell, I haven't bought a single game in fuck knows when. I don't even remember
So,
the last time I bought a game.
I am a hypocrite when it comes to this because I would love physical media to stick around, but I don't buy them. So, I have a disc-based PS5, and there might be a disc in it. I don't know.
Oh, Adam, you piece of shit!
I know. I am the worst. It's true.
I mean, it just simply, it's the case that there is a return on my investment with that particular way of doing it. Either I like something enough that I can hold on to it, or if I don't attach to it, I can then resell it or trade with friends, which is a big appeal to me. So if I spend an extra $150 on my console to get the disc drive, I'm going to save that over the time that I return or replace games with people. Sure, you go to EB Games and they'll be like, yeah, cool, we'll give you $12 for Sackboy's Grand Adventure, whatever. I'll have a mate who'll be like, well, cool, I'll give you $20 for it. I might have bought it for $69, who cares? But I'm still getting my money back each time. And I still get to enjoy that particular interaction with people.
That's not how they did Adam, that PS4 demonstration that time. They just gave the game
to just hand to it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you might be my friends, but I'm still a profiteering. So the big thing that I see is just simply, you Adam, you say sure they might have forecasting for what they see their user base to be, but regardless, just to be even more cynical, there's just a big whiteboard that just says, this is how much money we are losing by having an aftermarket. It should go in the bin. If we can get rid of physical media, production costs go away, we keep the same inflated prices, and every single person who buys our game, it's a one-and-done scenario. They're not going to resell that game to Johnny down the block for $20, and we miss out on that $20. It's just pure cynicism, but it is what it is.
I think Australia is in a unique position in terms of physical media. I think we're one of the loudest people to argue for this. I think globally, I'm not surprised that there's no disk drive, right? I think it's good that they're giving you the option. It's fucking expensive. But I also think that if you're going to spend $1,200 on a console, what the fuck is $150 for a disk drive?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, I'd probably much prefer pay $1,300 and just get that console with the disc drive.
I agree.
Even if it's a separate one, you plug onto it just in the box, but they're not doing that.
Yeah.
No. All right. James, any thoughts? You've been quite quiet.
I think it sets an interesting precedent for the PS6. If they're willing to breach $1,000 for a PS5 Pro, I imagine that like we're essentially just buying lower mid-tier PCs at this point, right? But in a closed system, and so it becomes that race between consoles are easier. It's like they are, but if I'm going to invest $1,300, why not? Like you said, like why not $1,600 and build a decent PC? You know, like the ecosystem aside, which we just talked about earlier in the podcast, right? About if you can get trophies on PC now, if you can get PlayStation games on PC now.
That was the point I was about to make. Like, it sets an interesting precedent for the PS6 and people going, well, if the games are eventually coming to PC, then...
Yeah.
Oh, which I wasn't a handheld console.
Which I think is the biggest Achilles heel of... sorry. Bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very expensive machine that I don't think they did an amazing job. Even if you are the target demographic where you go, okay, money's no object, so I can get this because whatever. What in that trailer, what in that 9 minutes makes you go, oh, I need to do this then? Like, it's footage of a PS4 game. And that looks nice, slightly nicer now. It's background characters that you would never look at in Ratchet and Clank with a thicker black outline around them.
No, James, it was the flags, my friend. They said the flag. They said, there's background characters there, but the flags are crisper. That's.
I find myself in a weird position where I agree with Zach on something. I don't think those people need to really be sold something. I think they hear the dot points.
Yeah. I think if you're saying, like, my game's going to run better, it's going to look prettier.
Yeah.
Here, take my fucking money.
Yeah, but they didn't even...
No one's saying KFC, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but not quantifying that in any particular way, right? So, like, I think it's Tom Warren at The Verge, I think, had a report today that was talking about how there's no guarantee that this means those games are going to be running at 60 FPS.
Correct,
we might still be getting 30 FPS stuff. And so if you can't quantifiably guarantee a consumer, like, this is what you get for your investment, then I think you've done a bad job of pitching the thing, regardless of, like, because, like, you know, the people that can afford this and are going to want this are going to do it regardless. Like, eat your fucking slot piggy, have fun, whatever. But, you know, I'm not here to sort of, like, well, we give Xbox a fucking hard time every time they judge people in it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think this is, like, starkly not quite anti-consumer, but I do think that, like, it speaks to Sony. Yeah, exactly. It's Sony moving to a place of hubris again that I don't want to see from this company, especially for a generation of hardware that, like, launched into a pandemic and feels like it never truly got off the ground anyway. So it's just, to me, a very strange choice on a lot of fronts.
Just an open query to everyone here. Do you remember when they were showing off the PlayStation, the PS4 Pro? Do you remember that they showed the loading comparison for things like Monster Hunter World Iceborne? And they basically went, hey, here's the PS4 and here's the PS4 Pro. And it was like nearly 48 seconds worth of loading on the PS4 versus, like, I think it was like 7 seconds on the PS4 Pro.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
Like, the whole comparison thing they did last night was, like, legitimately squinting at, like, is it? Oh, I guess it is. Yeah, I can read what's on that thing that I would never have read in that situation at that time in the game anyway, and don't actually give a shit what it says. That was the problem with me. Like, the PS4 Pro thing, I went, oh shit, think of the time I'll save. But this, I was just like, okay. And that's the problem, is that they don't really have something that really does uplift it that much. The people who are going to buy it were already going to buy it, but they don't, the middle range. There's not people who can barely afford it, but want to. They're going, I can't afford it, so fuck it, don't care.
I think we're just in that phase of just technology where we just get these mid-gen refreshes. You know, we get these releases that are barely a step up, like your iPhones, right? You know, like your fucking Pixel 8s to your Pixel 9s, kind of stuff like that. Like, there are minimal upgrades, yet they're slugging you $1,800 in 12 months' time to jump half a step. I think that's just where technology... I don't say that I agree with it. I still don't think we actually need this console, but I think people will buy it. Like, I think PlayStation that they put their logo and shit on stuff. Sorry, Adam. I think, people are just going to fucking buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the great thing is that we're in a spot where you definitely don't need this. The console that you already have is good, runs games well. If you're not super jazzed about it, don't fucking buy it because you don't need it, and you won't need it for ages. So that's great.
The only thing I will say is that if Capcom put out a thing being like Resident Evil 9, PS5 Pro enhanced, I'll be like, Daddy's listening.
At a certain point, though, like, are you going to be sitting there and going, man, this jump from 4K to AI enhanced 4K is really going to push me over the edge of something? Like, it's the problem with chasing fidelity the way that we've been chasing it, right? It's like, how much better do we actually need these things to look?
Yeah,
Is Leon in it, though?
That's why I'm saying these upgrades are so minimal because
Can I see the pause of his?
It's hard to get better looking than what we've got. Like it takes. I think it takes a lot of money and expensive hardware to make it look any better than what we've got. Really.
Well, I
And
think
consoles are never going to do that. So
the biggest leap of like graphical fidelity recently has been ray tracing, which is sort of middling kind of stuff at the moment, especially with consoles. So the fact that they've come out and put a big rubber stamp of ray tracing for this one is like, okay, I mean that's going to be cool. Like you can't really disagree with it, but at the same time we've lived without it for so long. So unless ray tracing is actually going to blow my fucking nuts off, then
the one game that I really do think that this will promote, can you guess?
The Order.
Imagine if the Order got a fucking PS5 Pro.
Little AI upscaling.
That'd be so hard.
See all these little fine mustache hairs. Oh.
That's that.
Galahad, yeah. What game is it, Zach? That's going to blow us
GTA
away
6
with a PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So I agree, but that just got pushed out like another 12 months, apparently.
No.
So,
But yeah.
yeah.
So
But it's the whole, like, if you're going to sow your seeds now, you're going to wait for a while to reap your oats. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm also pretty sure Digital Foundry and IGN did a thing today where they looked at the specs and said GTA 6 is probably still going to be running at 30 FPS at, not whatever resolution. So,
Well, little Jimmy's mum's got fucking 2 years to save up for the PS5 Pro, doesn't he?
that's it.
So Santa can drop it down the chimney.
One final question, obviously, for the adopters. What paltry offer is going to be presented to people when it comes to pick up your PS5 Pro today at EB Games by trading in your initial console for...
Oh,
250.
How much? $250? Oh,
3. It's got to be 3.
How much they sell them for?
I think the refurbished
$7.99.
ones are $6.99.
Oh, the
Fucking
yeah.
hell. How much is the new
The
PS5?
GM on trades is
Pretty sure.
It would make your toes curl.
Yeah.
Who would buy a refurbished one for?
Heaps of people. Honestly,
Yeah.
You
That's the
every
thing,
price.
you're talking about a level of consumer where it's like, like before, you're like, that extra 150 doesn't matter. To those people, saving that extra 150 is everything. So,
Yep. That means they can
Besides
pick up
the
a
coin,
PlayStation
baby.
game the day they get their refurb console, baby. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Good talk. We're going forever, but we're just, we've covered it. It's too expensive. It's pointless. Can't wait to get one.
don't like it. Yep.
All right. We're going to jump back into
yeah.
the potty and talk more PlayStation stuff. So get excited.
Oh, yeah.
Anniversary as well. Let's fucking do it.
That's
Anyway.
it. I'll tell you what popped down. Concord. Adam, tell us about what happened with your beloved Concord.
Yeah, it's fucking depressing. So it was, I think, 14. Oh, so on launch, I think the highest concurrent, well, between launch and everything getting shut down, the highest concurrent on Steam was triple digits. I think it was 640 odd, which is bad for like
Bad
any new
business,
release,
mate.
regardless of size.
It's
Let
great
alone
for an indie game, like a tiny
Yeah.
indie game.
Yeah, like a one person out of his garage kind of indie game. But it's bad for a first party game, particularly bad for a first party game that needs an audience because it's multiplayer.
Just quickly, its all-time peak was 697 players.
Fucking wild.
Currently,
And then
there's 6
like
players right now.
interesting. And then like 2 days later, it was in double digits. It was like 90 people. And then so a couple days ago, which was September 4th. Yeah, September 4th. there was a blog post posted to the PlayStation blog, Firewalk Studios, more or less saying, thanks for your feedback. We're fucked. And we're giving everyone refunds back. So regardless of where you bought it, Steam, Epic, the PlayStation Store, I have a few mates that work at EB still. They were given internal memos to say, like, regardless of what the situation is, give them their money back. And the game is gone. It's also been torn from consoles as well. My mate that had purchased it digitally, it's just gone. Like, it's not even like the little icon pops up. Like, it's been ripped from the console entirely. It's absolutely wild.
The word I used when I described it was it has been unreleased.
Yeah. It literally, they've Control Z and it's just gone. It's wild.
The oh shit go back meme, but for Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
For 8 years
like
of development.
has to be one of the biggest AAA flops I've ever seen. Like,
it would be the biggest.
unprecedented.
I reckon this is the single biggest flop.
This game was
in history.
not in active development for 8 years, but it was at least gestating back 8 years ago. And
How do you
Firewalk was... Sorry?
How do you feel knowing that this was, and I could be getting the details a little bit mixed here, but I read somewhere that Concord was greenlit over a infamous / prototype
Crossover.
How does that make you feel,
Adam?
Adam?
Adam, or have you
want to
just
shit
found out
myself
about-
to death.
Yeah. I was protecting him from that, Zach. I wasn't
I
bringing
wasn't.
that up.
Don't worry about that.
No, you won't see me again. No, it's fucking depressing, and it's a holdover from old Dad's regime of wanting to break into live service. I think it sucks because I did really enjoy Concord, but it was very much the straw that broke the camel's back. It was not what the market wanted. It's not what the PlayStation fan base wanted, and people fucking spoke with their wallets. Which, I mean, good for them, I suppose. Like, that's the only way that you can get your point across when it comes to massive conglomerates is by not buying their shit, and no one bought their shit.
It's kind of frustrating that, like, you can see this united effort of just flat out no be applied to a product that its greatest sort of crime was just being kind of subpar and a little bit boring. But then you can see some actual other, like, super garbage that still gets a free pass, and you're like,
They sell FIFA every year, man.
Yeah, it's like, do we as a community pick this up and go, hey, this looks like shit, let's do a Concord? Like,
yeah,
can it become a rallying banner that we can now go, nah, let's Concord the shit out of this piece of garbage?
I think
absolutely fucking wild. Though.
I think there's a few things. James, do you have any thoughts on this? Before
No,
I,
not
like,
really.
I think that I'm not surprised. I'm genuinely surprised at how quickly this happened, though. I think it's very, very disappointing, very, very sad, and I do feel for the people behind it. Imagine being one of the developers that has worked on that game for
seriously
5 years. And
if you are listening to this podcast from Firewalk, it's nothing against you guys. Like,
because
the product you put out was impressive.
By all reports, it was quite competent, right? But Sony can't be shocked at this, though. They must know that there must have been some whiff of DOA coming, right?
Well, you look at the marketing structure. You look at the marketing structure for it. It got a massive portion at the start of State of Play, and then nothing.
Yeah, because I think they read the room.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's wild that there was so much stock put into it to begin with. Like Ash said, there was this massive marketing push with State of Play. Concord's got its own secret level episode.
The Amazon series is coming out. Yeah.
Continuing through. Like, someone clearly expected it to do well, Jimbo. But yeah, then it just all fell apart very quickly prior to release, and yeah, it's fucked.
The other part though is I think you've got to give props a little bit to Sony though to pull the plug this quickly and be like, you know what,
100%.
this
Yeah.
ain't fucking working. There's no point wasting everyone's time, people's money, and then letting it die a slow death for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
It's good damage control,
right? Let's get it out, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. Who does anyone think that it will come back in like a free to play kind of state, or it's like a tax write off?
No.
You watch. 2 months from now, Concord comes back, and what they do is they put a living Sony museum in it where they've got all the characters dressed as past mascots from other games, and suddenly people really engage with it.
I was going to make a Astro Bot joke, but you can't. Yeah, bummer. But Fair Games and Marathon. Whew. I think if you Fair Games, I think you'd be shitting your pants.
Yeah.
I mean, as a
100%.
collective here, just as an open query, how do we all feel about the death of live service at this time?
Great.
Let's fucking
I
go.
love
Feels
nothing
good?
more.
Yeah. I'm very on board with the idea of like the live service bubble has quite literally burst, and now like the infinite money printing machine that all these executives are chasing is suddenly not that simple. And it's like,
Let it die.
Shit, we need to make good products again. Like, cool, good.
Yeah,
I saw someone saying like it's in the wake of Jim Ryan leaving, how many of his choices have kind of just been a disaster, and how that also compares to Phil Spencer and sort of these two men that have just steered us into oblivion for the better part of a decade now. It's just rough.
The one, just on that though, very very quickly, the one thing that I guess you can not defend Jim Ryan, but his console still fucking dominating the opposition, and they've still got Game of the Year nods most years they've had a big game.
Yeah.
Is it because of or in spite of though? Like those are two different.
I think specifically Sony just has more irons in the fire.
Yeah.
So they can have more fuck ups and more successes than an unnamed competitor that I won't bring up to trigger James, but
it's funny though that like the unnamed competitor literally bought the iron and fire factories. And still can't get it together. So,
so that's PlayStation puts out Spider-Man 2 gets a Game of the Year nomination, right? Fucking Xbox puts out, was that last year?
Redfall?
No, but was Spider-Man 2 last year?
Yes, it was November last year.
Puts out fucking
what the fuck? Was it really?
Starfield and Redfall, and none of them, they just can't. Let's not
devolve in another 10 minutes of Xbox.
Yes,
James.
Next topic, James. From the news.
Drivers forward.
Yes. Unfortunately, still sort of on the trail of things getting shut down unceremoniously. NetEase has seemingly sort of like skeleton crewed. Is it Oka Studios? Uka? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But they are the team behind Visions of Mana, which launched sort of at the very, very end of August, and then Bloomberg reported that this sort of effective shutdown happened on like September 1st. Like it was just an instant turnaround, which is a shame because the game looks beautiful. I'm actually really excited to get to it at some point. But yeah, bummer.
That's a bit like I don't know, I can't remember who it is. Sorry, but the Until Dawn remaster, whichever one's coming. Yeah. That developer basically, I don't think it's even finished it or it's gone gold, and they're basically kicked off most of the stuff.
Yeah. And Rocksteady's QA department got cut in half. It's just continuing to be a real great time.
The year just keeps on yearing.
It does.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Who just to quickly go back to Concord for 2 seconds, just you just reminded me on something. But who would have thought after Suicide Squad we would have a bigger flop than that?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. When it comes to size, you've sort of got an impressive scale for Concord in like a speed, but then I can't help but feel like Suicide Squad's more like a freight train pulling like 1 million tons of dog shit just charging straight into a mountain. It was like a meteor approaching.
But apparently,
like a balloon deflating.
Did you read that Concord had like a fucking 9-figure budget?
Jesus.
Yes,
Christ.
I did.
Nearly a decade of development. Like how could it not?
There's a lot of
Well,
factors that when you
there's
get down
only
to paper,
100
it
and something
doesn't
people
make
working on it. Like,
terrifying sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the plus side, though, that's 100 and some people that had jobs for 8 years. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, true.
and we
better
haven't
than
actually
most of
heard
the
that
industries doing.
Firewalker are booted yet. By the way, I don't-
No,
what-
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet.
I'm looking forward to their support work on The Last of Us Part 3.
Ugh.
The new Last
Yeah.
of Us multiplayer game that won't get released.
I was about
anyway.
to. Yeah.
They should have, of all of their live service games, that is the one I would have put out. I think you could have made something with that game.
I
but-
disagree. I disagree
Well,
terribly
this isn't
because I
about
don't
you.
think.
What the
Nah,
last
fair.
was one you mean?
You know what? I
No,
retract.
no, no.
I
Why do you
retract.
disagree?
Nah, it's all good, James.
No, come
It's
on, no, come
fine.
on.
No, come on.
I
Let's have it.
always had an issue with The Last of Us having a multiplayer mode. Sorry, buddy. But I see it as something that should stick to single player. I think diluting it by putting a multiplayer mode into
The
it.
world
just-
of The Last of Us is sad enough
Oh.
without somebody killing you and then telling you they fucked your mum.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
yes.
right. Yeah.
Like, I agree with you, right? Like, my review of The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is effectively about this argument, right? Like, I am right there with you. But I do think that, like, the popularity of the show speaks
Sure,
to...
yeah.
They
From a
could have
business point.
had an audience for that game,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
Because
for
I
sure.
think people want to abstract that kind of game into... Whatever, it's The Last of Us. We don't need to get into it. We've done it enough on this show. Minecraft is making a movie. That was not a transition. Just, there's a
let's
teaser
block
trailer
out
for this.
some
Just
time
like
to talk
that
about
won't be a
next
movie. So,
Yes, no. Did we all watch this?
I've
Yeah.
seen bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
Wise.
So we had a long time, the dark times, where any game adaptation was just straight flaming
Oh.
shit.
Watch
Just guaranteed
your mouth.
disaster.
Yeah, from like the 80s through till what, like maybe 5 years ago, and then we've had this boom period of things being either good
Or
or
acceptable.
or decent. Holy fuck, we are just doing a complete U-turn back in the other direction. Borderlands, and now this. Jesus
yeah, right,
fucking
Borderlands.
Christ.
Wow. Yeah.
This
So, I
looks
mean-
terrible.
It doesn't look good, and it's everyone's saying the same thing. Why is it real people in this fucking movie?
Hmm.
Why?
Because Jason
Yeah.
Momoa.
I mean,
Izakaya, bro. And
yeah,
so on.
yeah, big thing.
Yeah.
But let's all put it. Who here actually watched it and went, "Oh yeah, that looks okay"? Like anybody?
No,
No.
Anyone?
I turned it
No.
on.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. The big thing that I've seen, the big discourse I'm seeing is everyone's like obviously recoiling from this and saying it doesn't look good. It looks really childish. It looks kind of shitty. There's been this counterpoint made that's sort of done the rounds on social media in the last 24 hours, which is just basically, you're not the target audience. 6-year-olds are going to love this. But
I don't
The
hang out with
counter
6-year-olds, so I can't
counterpoint?
ask them.
yeah, well, I mean, I live with one.
Good.
She's my daughter before anybody reads into that weird. But the argument I'm seeing is that like media appropriate for children doesn't have to be exclusively for children. Like, you know, like the Super Mario Brothers movie wasn't a fucking masterpiece of storytelling. It was fine, but like adults could watch it without recoiling and having to check their phones. But there's so many other examples of like films made that are suitable for children that still have a hell of a lot of oomph as you get older. And I think there's a really strong point to be made that a film that ages with a person is a good film.
Yeah.
That when you revisit it, more of it comes to life for you.
Mm.
And
Also
if they're
just
just going to
think-
make a film for 6-year-olds, it's just going to have a skibbity toilet reference and fucking done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
but like on a baseline level, just because it's for kids doesn't mean it has to be shit. Like,
Yes.
and not even in terms of maturity, in terms of layers, in terms of can the parents watch it as well. All of that is wonderful and can come. But the important part for me is that like, there's always been bad kids movies. Like I watched a bunch of them. I'm sure we all did. It's part of it's life, right?
Mm.
But they don't have to be shit. Like there are so many great children's films out there, and like this just looks like a bad one. And the idea that people need to get like some sort of, oh, well, millennials are turning into boomers because they think that the movie that looks like shit looks like shit. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just weird that you're defending the Minecraft movie for looking like shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Twitter, man.
It's a valid fucking conclusion. It's just like, oh god, I'm so glad that you're defending the multi-billion-dollar company making the multi-billion-dollar game movie. Oh,
Yeah.
thank God. I can't wait for theaters to be daycares when it comes out because the only people seeing it are 6-year-olds. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
I'll tell you what though. I reckon those folks over at Annapurna probably going to make a pretty
Hey.
damn good movie or TV show out of Control and Alan Wake.
Good for you,
Oh.
James.
Thank you. Yeah, not bad, not bad. It's almost like I put those two next to each other for a reason, Adam. This is because Annapurna Pictures has teamed up with Remedy. They're going to be co-funding, I think, half of Control 2's budget, which is a huge investment. And in return, they get the TV and movie rights to the Remedy-averse, which is this obviously big multimedia thing that they're building up.
That's a pretty good deal.
This is very exciting to me specifically because Remedy has a habit of making some of my favorite games of all time that sell like shit. So I'm glad that they keep finding companies to trick into giving them millions of dollars to make another one of my favorite games of all time.
It's not tricking people, James. That's just how investment works.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fine. No, it's good. I'm very happy about this. This is some nice news for once. Everybody involved seems relatively happy, and I think that Control specifically would make an incredible TV show. There's so much you could do with that.
I still haven't played it. I really need to play it, eh?
Oh, you would love it, man. It's great.
It was a pledge, I know. Yeah.
Forgive me for asking if people don't know, but like Annapurna's already dipped their toe into visual media away from interactive media, haven't they? Didn't they rescue the?
They have
an start as a movie company.
Correct. They actually have a movie department. Division, I guess is probably the word. So actually, just on that, I'm very, very glad that's a great segue. James hasn't written it here, and I wasn't going to talk much about it, but just more of a headliney thing. They announced a new president or something like that, and he basically said that they're going to basically merge all their divisions into one division, like one label. I think it's just going to be Annapurna now, not Annapurna Games or whatnot. But he did actually say in this interview thingy, it was with Hollywood Reporter or Hollywood, is that the place? Basically said that they're going to move into, or look at getting into AAA games as well. So
that's less exciting, but
please don't.
I mean, that's at a time where lots of companies are sort of segmenting the shit that they're doing to try and make things more focused. So
that's true.
If it works for them.
It's just more the AAA thing than anything else. Everything else sounds fine.
I don't mind that. I just hope it doesn't come at the expense of them investing in those little unique,
agreed.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Banger fucking games that they do, right? Yeah.
Speaking of little bangers, Ash, you've done a great write-up on the. Sorry, that was terrible.
Jesus Christ, James.
Yeah,
finish the segue.
No, we're here now. The Albanese government has, at the day of recording this, put out just a god-awful little video of himself. Anthony Albanese, our Prime Minister, has jumped onto Twitter to say, hey, mums and dads out there, I'm going to get your kids back on the footy field, back onto the netball courts, and
I want to get them off their devices and have
their devices. All of these things that I've said
with real people.
Yeah, this is all shit that he's said as a way of framing this introduction of legislation that is effectively looking to nebulously ban minors from social media and other digital platforms. It's going to go before, I guess, whatever our body is called, which I'm forgetting right now, sometime before the next election.
It's still going through its manifestation piece. So the bottom line is that this is coming from a couple of sources. There's a South Australian Premier of Peter Malinauskas who wants to talk about it, and there's also a former Chief Justice who's been talking about it. The whole idea is that they want to impose a minimum age for kids to be using social media, but more so, this is the problem, is a lot of people are reporting it as an outright ban. What they want to do is try and loop in some kind of thing where kids have to get their parents' permission before they can actually sign up to some of these things, with quite literally the control methods being put in the hands of the social media companies. So if little Timmy wants to get on Facebook and start posting slurs, he needs to say, Mummy, I want a Facebook account so I can go call my friends rude words. And the whole idea is that this would be a system put in place by them, and if they don't abide by it, hefty fines will occur. Whether this will fix bullying, whether this will fix antisocial behaviors, whether it'll fix any of the hundreds of absolutely terrifying things manifesting in our society, who fucking knows? But the issue is that the paper that's been put out, obviously all new legislation gets put through its initial scoping phase, they lay it out, and then they effectively end the layout with some kind of stupid nebulous, and it can do so much more. And so in this particular case, it ends with the wording that just says, like, planning to impose a minimum age for teenagers accessing social media and other relevant digital platforms. Now, this was initially reported on The Guardian, which that's all I'm going to say on that, where they said this was interpreted as gaming. Now, in the realm of boomers trying to control what we do on the internet gaming isn't Call of Duty lobbies. It's based around gambling sites. So I don't know if that's what they mean. But the problem is it's people interpreting vaguely written shit, and it's not good. So I suppose if you pose the question as, is the Albanese government going to kick, Skibbity Toilet 99 from your COD lobby? I don't think so, but who knows? The base level of control here is the idea of parents intervening to get the kids signed up. So who knows? It's bad. It's not been put before any actual proper thing. Anthony Albanese was on Sunrise, like you said, James, trying to get kids out kicking the footy and playing netball because let's go with really gendered sports, mate.
I didn't realize that was a genuine direct quote, and I just
we're not
fucking lost
we're not
it.
taking the piss. Yeah. There's footage of him saying it. I nearly edited it into the piece I put on WellPlayed today, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to expose more people to it.
Nobody wants to look at that white bread loaf.
No.
So, question then.
Yeah.
Who's the fucking idiots that buddy help vote in Big Elbow? Are we all at fault here?
I mean, look, our two-party system is pretty busted in that there isn't much of a difference between our two parties. But I mean, ostensibly, I'd still rather Albanese than the other crazies.
I don't even know who the Liberal leader even is. Is that Peter Dutton?
Yeah, no, but back in the day, remember, it was Scott Morrison.
Or was it Barnaby?
Barnaby
Joyce. So, yeah, that's the big thing.
Thank you, Ash. That was very well summarized. I appreciate it.
I am going to track this as it develops because it might be very funny as it goes.
And that's the news.
Shout outs. Good job. Well done. Well,
thanks.
Well played. All right, let's go to the off topics real quickly because we still got a little bit of juice to add later. So we
Oh yeah.
We don't want to go too long, do we?
Biggin. No, we don't.
We don't.
Off topics.
Right. Off topics. Give me anything that you've watched or enjoyed or whatever you've done that's not gaming related.
I watched Michael Mann's Heat for the first time, and it was fucking tremendous.
You can see why people like the Heat.
Oh yeah. Lather it on me. If I see that Heat coming around the corner, I'm gonna go kiss it.
Is it Leo? No, it's not Leo, is it?
No. This is 95, I think. It's Pacino.
Oh,
and
as in like De Niro.
De Niro.
Yeah,
sorry,
De Niro and Pacino. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Like I love Michael Mann. I've seen most of his stuff, but for some reason this had eluded me. Cops and robbers, but ultimately sort of about masculinity and purpose in life. It's 3 hours. It's incredible. I cried at the end. Just
lots of it. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Just an open query. Has anybody here seen the TV show, the British comedy Peep Show?
Yes.
Clips of it.
Yes. The only reason I share this is because there's just one gag in that show that makes me laugh every single time, where the two main characters get invited to go to a theater with two women on a date, and then they get there and realize the play is awful, and they're talking to each other, and Jeremy says to to his mate, he goes, "Why are we watching this? We could be at home watching Heat. Have Heat on DVD." And then there's like a moment of silence, and they go, "I'm going to pretend I am watching Heat." It's such a good bit, and always makes me laugh.
That's good.
Good.
Nice. Adam, what have you been watching? Or Ash, sorry?
I was just going to say, the Transformers 1 is out on advanced screenings this Friday, so...
Oh.
Yeah, I got to see if I can drag my daughter along so I don't have to be the weird adult guy buying a ticket to the kids' Transformers movies. But it's had like 5 advanced screenings, and everybody just says it's really fucking good. So, I mean, Transformers fans, the most cynical, hateful human beings on Earth. What up? I'm part of that group, so it's fine. But they're all coming out going, "It's so good," and I'm like, did they put drugs in the popcorn or some shit? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Like,
understand
if
how
the
they managed to
alt-right
get the
child
films to-
likes it, then they
Yeah.
must have done something
I
incredible.
just don't get it. People walk out and go, "It's so good." I'm like, you guys never say that. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't say that. So,
Great example of a kids movie that doesn't have to be shit. So,
there's plenty of examples. Yeah,
well, I'm just saying it's recent at least.
yeah, a recent one.
Yeah.
Adam, you got anything that you watched?
No, not really. I started listening to the Dragon Age podcast. It's like a narrative podcast, similar to how they did for Callisto Protocol. And I'm probably screwing myself the same way. Well, the fucking Callisto Protocol podcast absolutely ruled. It was so good.
Yeah.
Who did the voice for it? It was someone pretty
Gwendolyn
cool, wasn't it?
Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie, and she should have been the main character in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing's happening. I'm like, fuck, this is cool. Maybe I do want to play Dreadwolf, not Dreadwolf, the Veilguard. So yeah, I've only listened to the first episode. I'll keep you up to date, but it's a strong start. I will say though, old mate May Whitman is the main character, and I can't get her. Like, there's no accent. It's just her, and I can't stop thinking about her role in Scott Pilgrim, and it's clashing a bit in my head. But yeah, it's really good. Enjoying it.
Good stuff. All right, a couple of quick fire ones from me. Watch The Deliverance on Netflix. Didn't really rate it. Thought it was a bit average. James, you seen it?
No, not at all.
No. It's the new Lee Daniels film, if that makes any sense.
No, I'm sorry.
No.
Is it a Netflix original movie?
Maybe. It's based on true events.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. The other thing that
They've got
I
a
am
good track
watching
record.
on Netflix is, I'm really enjoying it, is a German TV show called Crooks.
Huh?
Yeah, really, I'm really liking this. I would highly recommend this. This is about I'll just read this little tiny thing here. It says, a priceless coin puts rival gangs at odds, forcing a retired safe cracker to team up with a gangster for one last heist.
That sounds like a Guy Ritchie film.
It does.
It actually is like a little bit Guy Ritchie. You are right, but it's very, very cool. I'm up to the last episode now, so I'm keen to see how it all wraps up. But yeah, really, really enjoying it. And the first episode of Slow Horses came out.
German Guy Ritchie film. I will watch this.
Yeah.
All right.
And the guy, the main guy, stay with me here, German Tom Hardy. His character is.
Just German Tom Hardy.
Look at Frederick Lau. His name
Oh
is
no,
Charlie.
I see it. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. And I watched the first episode of Slow Horses new season. It was very, very good.
Is that only on Apple TV?
It's fucking amazing.
Fuck me.
It's so good.
I wanna watch it, but I'm not subscribing to another fucking service while I'm trying to cull them.
I would highly recommend you subscribe to Apple TV, watch what you need to watch, and then fuck it off.
Yeah, fair.
So,
we'll see.
There's so much good shit on there.
Yeah, I mean, like, by that logic, right? If you spend, what is it, $10.99, and then watch a couple of seasons of amazing television, that's not a bad value trade.
Because you can get like a 7-day trial, I think, or 14-day trial, or whatever the fuck it might be.
That's how most people like to.
That
absorb
first Slow
things.
Horses is so bingeable. Like, you could smash that out in a few nights.
The only, if
right,
you are
maybe
thinking
I will.
about doing that, they only release one every week, just FYI. So you will.
Bastards.
It's how they get you.
Slow releases.
But yeah, but if you go like 2 months and the 7 days, that's $25 about, and you get some good shit there. All right, James.
Yeah. After killing his wife, Ted confesses his crime.
Hang on.
He's got to do the intro, James.
What intro?
Wait. Oh, so okay. So we're just raw dogging right into
2000s film of the week.
Okay, cool. I thought you were going to give us something that you've
If you're
watched.
new here, we pick a movie from the 2000s, and
No,
then
no,
one of
no.
us reads the synopsis,
I
and
was
the
ex-
others have to guess what it is.
I was expecting something that you've watched to be like, oh, you know, something else maybe.
What?
Don't worry. You said that you watched.
We talked about Heat.
I know, but
I can keep talking about Heat.
I was expecting something else. But then you just kind of. Anyway, let's go.
Mate.
Chance
Anyway.
film of the week, baby.
After killing his wife, Ted confesses his crime and asks the court to move his case to trial. He represents himself against Willie, a successful lawyer, but there's more to the case than meets the eye.
Did you laugh at the name Willie, or it just catch you off guard?
I'm so sorry.
I'm
Jesus
12 and this is
Christ.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It's not ringing even a single bell for me.
No.
So
No.
Is this
Do you
another one
want
of those-
one of the leading men?
Yeah, I was gonna say leading actor.
Wait, which one is it? It's one of the Ryans. Ryan Gosling.
Ooh. Ooh.
yeah, I'm not going to be any help here, fellas. I'm sorry.
Did Ryan Gosling play Wild Willie, or
Ryan Gosling is Willie.
Oh,
Willie Bashum.
I feel like I can
Do
picture
you want the other
cover.
leading man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins.
Is it
Anthony Hopkins.
I feel like Zach would have seen this movie.
I can picture something, but I can't quite. It's a bit like playing Death Stranding. I can't quite make out the words. So
Got it. Understood. It is Fracture.
let me just check the let me check the
right.
cover for that.
I've definitely
Alright.
seen the cover.
Wow,
Good film.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is when I was.
All right.
Yeah, that picture of him in the fucking courtroom is
Yeah,
Iconic.
exactly.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
72% on Rotten Tomatoes. You can watch it on Netflix or binge.
There you go.
Very nice.
Might
Yeah.
be worth a rewatch this weekend.
It
God, we
might
failed terribly.
And Heat.
Yep. Heat.
Good stuff. All right, cool. We calling time.
Let's
Well,
do
hang
it.
on. Where are we?
I
No,
We were so close.
no.
Turns
Are
out
we-
I've got a hidden news piece that I didn't tell you about.
There's no news pieces. You
This
fucking.
little game from Melbourne.
Thank you for
What's
listening to this
bothering
week's
you?
episode of the WellPlayed DLC podcast. You can check out all the content on www.well-played.com.au. I don't fucking know where the PS5 other shit's coming in because no one fucking
It's going
introduced
in the slot where we talked
Yeah,
about
well,
the
we didn't
PlayStation
fuck-
5 Pro.
We didn't.
We
what,
already
just gonna-
talked about it. What are you talking about?
Are we going to raw
No.
dog that in? We're just going to fucking slam it in.
Just gonna
When you record it, you'll introduce it and then say, and we'll throw it back to the boys as we recorded back in the past. Goodbye.
Yeah. Like a podcast.
Like a
It's
podcast.
wild how these recordings work.
Bye.
But I don't understand.